Okay, everyone. Welcome. Good evening. We're ready to start the Maayon. It's not cold yet. I'm going to have this, and then later I'm going to get Shkech, you can take this. You can take that back, yeah. Thank you. Oh, there's also pretzels and cookies that are on the kitchen in a bag. Just put them out over here. Shkoyach. I think it's next to the fridge on a bag. Okay, so we're going to learn the Maayon L'Kutei Torah Lochem Tzitzis, page 86, Daf Mem Gimel, Amid Gimel. I want to thank all the shiurim. All Thursday night shiurim of this entire year has been sponsored by Baruch Marshak, a lot of bracha. Okay, we're holding over here. I have to make an admission. I learned a little bit of this Maayon on Sunday, I think it was, and it drew me in, but I only got a little bit into it. I just scanned it for maybe 20 minutes. I said, wow, this sounds like be a really good, very special Maayon. And then I was going to prepare the rest of it today. And then I went and I took a little snooze. I thought it's going to be for 10 minutes. And the next thing I knew, it was 7:45 in the evening. So it ended up, I must have been sleeping about an hour and a half. So, and then I said, Oy Gaval, how in the world am I going to teach this Maayon? And I sat down, and Baruch Hashem, this is I'm sure the Maayon has depth and depth and depth, but it's a very readable and uncomplicated Maayon. What I like about this Maayon, and it is known that the Alter Rebbe had, we just read about it recently in the Hayom Yom, that there was various different levels of Maayorim. It depended in the time. The Alter Rebbe began more in the style of his discourses were more in the style of his previous teachers, the Baal Shem Tov, especially the Magid, in which the Baal Shem Tov just said little vertlach, little teires, little thoughts. The Magid already said, teachings of complicated ideas already in the Alter Rebbe started taking all of this and developing it in Chabad style, intellectual style. But that itself developed over years. So the earlier years, the Maayorim were much shorter, but more soul-like, as opposed to later when they became more intellectual, because the whole point over here is to bring the godly truths of the neshama, of faith and of emunah, and translate them into the language of the human soul, the human psyche, including the intellect, and ultimately it should be able to affect our human side as well, and even our animal side. But that was a progress. So the later in the Alter Rebbe's years, the Maayorim became longer. This Maayon, now they're just as fiery, but it's camouflaged more with logic and rational type of discussion, as opposed to the earlier years where you can sense the fire and the energy more. So I was reading this Maayon, and I said to myself, this is old style. I saw that immediately. It felt like the old style. And then after I finished the whole thing, just about 20 minutes ago, I took a look at the back, and I said, yeah, this Maayon, the Alter Rebbe still said it in Liozna. The Alter Rebbe was arrested in the ends and was sent to jail in the ends of the Nun Ches Nun Tes, corresponding to 1798. Up till that time, he lived in Liozna. After that, he was arrested once, and he was released, and he was arrested a second time. After his second arrest, he moved to Liadi, and he was there for the last 10 years of his life, or 11 years, until he escaped with Napoleon. That period of time, and Liadi is where most of the Maayorim of the L'Kutei Torah come from. The longer Maayorim and much more, right? And the shorter ones are from the Liozna days. And you can see in this Maayon that it's Liozna style. Okay. So it says this week in the parsha we have the mitzvah of Tzitzis. And the pasuk says that you should make the fringes at the edges of your garment. It should be to you Tzitzis for fringes. You should see it. It's called mitzvahs Hashem. You should remember all the mitzvahs of God. And what is the lashon over here? You should remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem. Vasisa moisom, you should do the mitzvahs. Then you will not go after your eyes, after your heart and after your eyes. That they want to seduce you after them. The mind and the heart and the eyes want to cause you to stray away from me. So laman tizgeru, and again, so that you will remember vasisam as kol mitzvah, so you will do all my mitzvahs, v'yisam kedoshim l'keichem, and you will become holy to God. So the question, first of all, you see over here immediately is that tzitzis is a mitzvah that's supposed to remind you to do all the other mitzvahs. So we need to understand, how does mitzvahs remind you? So there's Al Pi Pshat. Rashi gives an interesting answer. That how does tzitzis remind you to do all the other mitzvahs? Because tzitzis is gematria 605. Tzitzis is gematria 605. No. You're right. Tzitzis is gematria 600, but then there's 5 knots. That makes it 605, and there's 8 strings, 613. So that's how you have 613. So first of all, that teaches us that for those people who laugh at gematria, or don't take gematria seriously, the Torah gives you a mitzvah that forces you to constantly think about gematria. And you can look at your tzitzis, you have to write. It's amazing. I just thought about that now. The Torah forces you to acknowledge gematria, according to Rashi. Pshuta shel mikra. You can't laugh at gematria. Bichlal, I want to say something about people that scoff, people that laugh. Oh yeah, I'm so happy now. Daron, you made me happy. Okay. In addition to that, now everybody on live stream knows you're here. We're not saying which Daron, okay? But in addition to that, I'm happy. But now, I was happy already before, but I'm happier. So today, I just for the scoffers, I have to say this. Rava would start with something happy, with a joke. It's not a joke. It was so good. Someone sent me today a WhatsApp. There's a Rebbe known as Reb Shaya of Kiristir. Reb Shaya of Kiristir. A lot of people travel to him today. He became it says, it's very funny how it says that everything has mazel. I feel the Sefer Torah Shebehechal. Even a Sefer Torah Shebehechal has mazel. Some certain Sefer Torahs sit and no one looks at them. And then there are certain Sefer Torahs that everybody always ends up being taken out. So sometimes you have a Rebbe, there were thousands of Rebbes before the war. And this Reb Shaya of Kiristir became very, 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 very popular today, and people will travel to him. It's very interesting. Now, people always have known him. You've known this for years, that he's a segula against many. He's a shmira. And people use him particularly when you have rats in your home, or mice. People put a picture of him in the room, and it's a boduk umenusa that he chases the rats and mice away. It's obviously a very big tzaddik that the klipa can't come close to him. It's known. A picture of it. I've given the segul to people, told me, and people come back and say it's not there. That's what happens. It just gets rid of the mice. But people say he's a shmira for everything. So someone today, this story happened today in the morning, a guy comes into shul in Borough Park, and he starts laughing, and he said, "Hey, this younger man parked by a fire hydrant in Borough Park, and he put a picture of Shaya Kiristir on his windshield. And guess what? He got a ticket, $115. He saw it. He got a ticket. He comes and he says, Chuchem. He went and he put a picture of Shaya Kiristir on his this, and he got a ticket. Okay, so the guy who heard this from this guy walking in, after he finished davening, says he went outside, him and his friend, and they look at the ticket. And his friend suddenly says, "Hey, take a look. The number of the house, it's 1758, 58th Street, 1758. Take a look at the ticket, it says 2758, 58th Street, or 2778, something like that, 58th Street. So, and they look it up, there's no such address in Brooklyn. There's no 2758 Brooklyn. Why? Because 58th Street ends at Bay Parkway, and afterwards it stops. The whole thing doesn't exist. That means that the ticket is void because it doesn't have a location. It has a false location. So, for those who laugh at those who believe, not that you're supposed to park at a fire hydrant, but I'm not giving legitimacy for that. But the idea is, you connect to a tzaddik with sincerity, he'll always come through for you. Back to what we're saying over here is, talking about gematria, from the simple meaning of Rashi, that you see that gematria is very real. Tzitzis reminds you of the whole Torah, because it's a gematria up to 600. But the Alter Rebbe is going to give a very deep and rich explanation of why looking at the tzitzis will bring you to remember all of the mitzvahs. So let's see inside. So first of all, lahavin, to understand, why do we have two zechiros? It says you will remember, and laman tizkeru, you should remember 2 times. And it seems to be repeating the same thing. It says laman tizkeru, the first time laman tizkeru, you will remember. No, uzachartem es kol mitzvahs Hashem vasisem oisam. You'll remember all the mitzvahs and you will do them. And again, laman tizkeru vasisem es kol mitzvahs yisem kedesh. What's a repetition? 2 psukim. When we say it every day. If you think about this, what are the 2 remembrances that it's telling us to remember? Gam lahav, and we also need to understand. What's the connection? You have a mitzvah of tzitzis, fringes at the end of your garment. How is that a remembrance on all the mitzvahs? Some want to say, by the way, the answer is that it says there is a common minhag by people, but I think it's already brought in Gemara or in Zohar or whatever, that when you want to remember something, you make a knot. Making a knot is let's say you knew you have to do something before you go to sleep at night. So you take something of your garments, whatever, make a knot on it. So then, by having the knot, you'll remember. Not stop making a sign, making a knot. Why? Because a knot means you're tying yourself. So the inyan of mitzvahs, which are the tzitzis, which are knots, the ksharim of the tzitzis means you're knotted to God, so you don't forget his mitzvahs. He's on your mind. That's the explanation. But let's see for something deeper over here. V'hinei tzitzis maloshen histaklos. Now tzitzis comes from the word histaklos, of looking, of gazing. From the word meitzitz min acharakim, he's peeking through the cracks. So tzitzis maloshen histaklos, of looking. My meitzitz min acharakim, like peeking through the cracks. When it talks about Hashem, he's standing behind the wall and he's peeking through the cracks. Shu inyan, which is the idea of ziva ara. It's a radiance of light. It's a ray and a radiance tahainu. Now, in order to be able to see, you need light. It's the light that enables something to be visible. All of us, are living shrouded in darkness. The world that we're creating, our very existence is an existence of concealment. Because we were created to live and exist in an olam. And what's olam? Olam comes from the word helem, concealment. So we live in a concealment. Who's being concealed? There's nothing but the Eibishter. God is everything and everywhere. And there's nothing but him. But we don't see that. Because the olam of time and space is what blocks our vision. So we're in dark, so we don't see him. What's the tzitzis? The tzitzis is a blast of light, that like a flash of light, like a lightning that comes in when a person is lost in a forest and they have no idea, like they lost. And if they're lucky, not lucky, you don't want to be in a storm, but b'tzacheni, you need a little vision. You see a lightning is a flash, and suddenly at least you get direction and you see where it is. So the light. So the tzitzis is a flash of light. So the Eibishter, through the tzitzis, flashing of what? He flashes his existence into your soul. It should shine. The Yizgalin, it should be revealed. A giloy of him, of the Eibishter, which God fills all worlds. Knows that you should appreciate the Eibishter that fills all worlds. But not only that, you shouldn't only, in other words, the tzitzis don't only give someone an appreciation, a sense, a visual of God that he's filling all worlds, because the Zohar says the Eibishter also encompasses all worlds. And that's a higher level of godliness, is the level that's encompassing, because it's not measured and limited to the finitude of creation. It's more of a broader energy. And then even higher than that, even Soiv of Kalaman in Chassidus explains that even the Soiv of Kalaman is a level of godliness that is, even though it's still higher and bigger than creation, but it's still measuring up to the world. The fact that we're saying that it's Soiv means it has some relation to the world. But then he's even higher is God himself. Kula kamei kalakshiv. All before him is not. So Soiv of Kalaman, and the idea of tzitzis is to give a revelation, a flash of the Mamala Kalalman, of the Soiv of Kalalman, and even of Kula Kamei Kalachshiv, even the Eibishter as he is completely above. that a person should experience and see in the heavens above and the earth below, there's nothing but him. Why? Because the idea that the nothingness is because his name is elevated alone, and only his ray is on the heavens and the earth. Okay. A ray of the Eibishter means the hoid, his glory is a ray. That helps us understand why there's nothing but him. Because all of creation is but a tiny little ray of him, an insignificant ray, and everything is batal and mavutal to the point that there's ein oid mavade, other than God, nothing exists. But again, we don't see it. Stamazoi, we're living in darkness. So the tzitzis is a manner, soon we're going to see, tzitzis is the Eibishter blasting, the Eibishter shining his light, a beam of light into your neshama to be able to feel him. But what's this idea of this giloi? Pidish giloi mitziyusai. It's a giloi of the Eibishter's existence. In other words, a person can't have the giloi of the Eibishter's true being in him. It bothered me when I'm learning this. What is the Alter Rebbe saying chas v'shalom? It's like it would be terrible if it would be. So you can argue that what does he mean chas v'shalom? He's saying it's the giloi. You have a giloi of God's existence, but not the giloi of Taka being able to see him, because the Eibishter no one can see him. The Eibishter doesn't have a visible existence. So it's a type of urea, it's a type of experience that you feel very strongly like you're seeing the existence, but not the substance. But why is he saying chas v'shalom? Is the chas v'shalom because that's impossible to see the Eibishter's mahus? Even by Moshe Rabbeinu it says, or I was thinking the chas v'shalom is because if we would see his mahus, then we wouldn't be able to, So it's chas v'shalom because it would harm us. What's the chas v'shalom over here? Like a person say chas v'shalom, I'm playing with the chas. If a person says chas v'shalom, that when you hear chas v'shalom, someone shouldn't fall down chas v'shalom. Or is the chas v'shalom to say that on the Eibishter? Is it a religious chas v'shalom, or is it a sakana chas v'shalom? I don't know what the chas v'shalom over here is. And what's bad if a person is going to have a gili of the Eibishter's mahus? What's going to happen? I don't know. So that I leave you for your homework. In any case, but that gili of the Eibishter tzarech sheyizgale b'leiva adam dafke. But here's the deal. This revelation of a tzitzis is not meant to be just a gilui elokus that is something that philosophically the person appreciates in his mind. In his mind, in his chachma, in his understanding, he has a psak gilui, a realization intellectually in God's existence. No. That's not the point. The point is that your heart should see it. That means it should penetrate into the emotional sphere of the human being. Chazal say, the heart should see. I didn't get a chance to look that up. The loy die loy, and it is not enough. It's not enough that you're looking with your eyes. Where are the eyes? The eyes are in the head, up here. So the eyes represent, through your eyes, you're getting a cognition, a mental cognition. It's not enough just a mental cognition in godliness, a mental revelation. It has to register in the center of the human being down here, meaning more on the emotional level. In the Chabad of him, this idea that tzitzis is meant to reach your heart and not just your einayim. Einayim, he says, that's your Chabad. What's the connection of Chabad, intellect, seichel, with eyes? And in addition to the fact that the eyes are the windows right next to your brain, next to the Chabad, but you also find that Chachamim, the wise men, are called the Einei Ha'eda, the eyes of the, they're called wise, but the Sanhedrin, the judges are called the eyes. So you see, and Bechlal, it says that the Chachma of the person, the wisdom of the person, is spiritually associated with the power of vision. You see something, you see an idea. So that's called what? Mind vision. What? The mind's eye, okay. Call the eyes of the but it needs to expand. This riyah, this vision, has to impact the person, and it has to touch him in the heart. Libay mamish, literally in the heart. The heart should see, umargish, and the heart should feel, umispoel b'hargashasai. And it has to bring a person to an aspilos. It has to bring a person to an emotional response, to an excitement. That means that you learn something, or in this case, the tzitzis is a person puts on his talis and he gets this some point during davening, let's say, he gets the tzitzis effect, which is a godly revelation from above that reveals, the Eibishter reveals himself to him. It has to create that the person shouldn't remain cold and indifferent, intellectually, happy or respond, but it has to move you to the core. That it should create dread in the heart, or yispilus kirish be'esh, the two primary emotions. Either it should create a powerful contraction of fear and dread of the Eibishter, like we learned last week. When we learned about the Bnei Gershon, the family of Gershon last week, in the Thursday night shir, we learned that all the colors were in the Yeriyos. There was Tcheles, and it's interesting, I pointed out to you over there, and interesting in last week's shir, that over there the Alter Rebbe makes an exception. He says Tcheles is Meloshin Tichla, Meloshin Kiloya in Tichla, which is yearning, which is love. Kol Sanafshi, Nichsev Avagam Kol Sanafshi. And I pointed out to you last week that most places Tcheles is associated with fear, with yira, with fear, and that's the way it is in the Maimer over here. He's saying that when the Gilui Elokus that comes from the tzitzis, the fact that a person is meitzitz, a person gets a sudden revelation of a lokus of Getlichkeit, and he feels it in his heart, the heart should be moved in one of two ways. Either the heart should be moved in dread, or in both, in dread and in fiery passion. And that was oy hispilus kedish be'esh, or flaming fire, miyasoida esha beliboy, from the element of fire that's in his heart. Now he's going to explain why, and that could be why the tzitzis are 32 strands of tzitzis. Because 32 is leiv. The tzitzis are meant, lamed beis nesiva is chachma, but the pathway, it's meant to end up by the heart. That's why we know it's a minog, actually, when you hold the tzitzis, to hold the tzitzis by the heart while you're saying the thing. Because the main part of the tzitzis is that it should be a riyah, it should come down to the heart. Why is he explaining? What's wrong if it just remains in the head? And the Rebbe explains an interesting thing. The head is detached. It's detached of the head knows, as we all know in our lives, we know a whole bunch of things of the way it ought to be. We know we ought to be different. We know we ought to spend our lives learning Torah, doing mitzvahs. All that doesn't translate necessarily in what we do, because our emotional reality can be very, very different than our intellectual reality. So therefore, as long as things remain only in the cup, in the head, like we learned, like we know, the mind and the heart can be miles apart. You need to build a bridge. The tzitzis is meant to infuse a powerful bolt of lightning and of godly awareness into the emotions. And he explains like this. Where are we? He said the moyach, the main anatomy of the brain is made up of water. B'chlal, we know that people that are very intellectual are more on the cold side. They're calm, they're collective, everything. When they hear something intense, they don't get excited immediately. They want all the information. It takes a long time until they get excited. And this other guy hears a little news, and he says right away, Mashiach is coming. He's floating, he's screaming, he's shouting. Usually more the emotional, right? But the point of it is not to keep it in the brain. It's to bring it down, azoi, into the heart. So, the moyach is cold. It's water. Va'alechus, and moisture. Shu kar b'teva. It's naturally cold. Ve'ein nepoil b'nafshoy shum ishtanas. You can learn from today till tomorrow and gather a lot of information, but it doesn't poil, it doesn't affect in a person's nefesh. Shum ishtanas doesn't cause the person to budge. Meaning, I don't change my life because of that. My life is what my life is. Regular, I remain, a person can think to himself, I remain the same animal person, involved with all kinds of physical, earthy desires and wants. There's no, right? I don't have to budge. The Eibishter is so great. Very good. The Eibishter is great. God is great, and He's gave us, fine. Was hat das mit mir? What does it have to do with me? I'm living my life. The Yesh by Kvedus. Another thing about water is that water has weight, as opposed to fire. Fire is light. Water has a certain weight. That means that gravity impacts it. That's why water goes down. The Yesh by Kvedus, it has a heaviness. And like we see, that water descends from a high place to a low place. What does that mean? It means that a person can perceive godliness in his brain, in his mind, and still be heavy and not budge. That means he's heavy, it's not moving, it's not getting you moving. Therefore, the seeing, the einei haseichel, the eyes of the eye of the mind, of his godly soul, doesn't necessarily affect any change in one's vivifying soul, in his nefesh hachiyunis, which means sometimes explains the animal soul. Should you spoil that it should get excited, lehishtanis tivoi, that a person should have a change in his nature, umuhusai, and his substance, basharusham, for what he is, whatever I am. Well, the Shanoi says tamoi. If the Eibishter is so real, and einoid mulvadoi, and there's nothing but God, how can I live another moment and be so indifferent to this emes and to this truth? How can I be so selfish? I can be so caught up in my own fantasy of non-existence. Me living other than being a servant of God is a fantasy. It's fake. It's not real. How can I? And I have to change. And especially since a Yid realizes the power that he has to make this emes be felt in the entire world through Torah and mitzvahs and the like, and I'm sitting by coldly, not doing anything, and I'm just continuing to live my life exactly like it was before. It can't be that way. When you learn a little Chassidus, or in this case, you have a Gilui Elokus through your tzitzis, it needs to move you. Well, the Shana says Tamai for a person to change his style, Elahepech legamret, completely to the other side. Rakhu kedekoi koi. The person remains standing like he was before. With heaviness and laziness. And the point is, what happens with water? Water goes down to a low place. So that means that when a person can have intellectual water in his mind, he can have a lot of activity going on in his brain, but it will still, the water will descend to a low place, meaning to say that the person could remain in a low place. He could still remain in the dumps, meaning remain as attached and as connected to lowly behaviors, addictions, and patterns that are lowly because they're far from any kedusha of any holiness, and there's no change because the person is a philosopher. He's a thinker. He knows everything. His mind is enriched, but it doesn't have to do with him. In the same low place where the person was. So what makes a change in a person? So the Alter does give an interesting lush. When you want to take any substance and you want to change it, any substance, you want to change the shape of a material. What do you have to do? You have to put it into fire. You have to heat it up. And when you heat it up, then you can change. That means if a person gets excited, passionate, his one's perception of the Eibishter reaches him and triggers an emotion and starts producing fire. In that fire of the passion and of the fervor, you can make a change. You can say from now on, that gives you the energy and the determination to say from now on, I'm going to be a complete different person. You can't be the same person. Through this, that a person becomes ablaze. To the point that it touches him. It touches him in the heart. The heart is already full of fire. That's where the element, emotions. As I mentioned earlier, an intellectual person is very calm and collective. An emotional person is very, very, very antsy, very, always on the move. The element of fire rises upward, like flames of fire, and the shalheves and flames of Yudke. And it's sparked like a shalevs. Now here's the thing. You're wearing tzitzis. What did we say before is tzitzis? Tzitzis is like an igniter. Tzitzis is a flash. It's a ha'ora. It's a light. It's a beam of light. So it's a beam of light. How is it going to... Okay, it's going to give you a little bit of a kitzel. You're going to get a little emotionally excited. 2 minutes later, you're dead already. Chas v'shalom. Same person. So what happens if the emotion, So you got a little excited for a minute. What is that going to do? The point is, a Jew has fire in his neshama. A Yid has. All he needs is a trigger. So what the tzitzis does is the tzitzis is maloshen meitzitz. It's a hatzotza. It's a flash of divine truth that flashes into a person's consciousness. But what it's meant to do is to deliver a spark into the heart. And once it delivers the heart, it ignites the fire in the heart. The fire already, once you get its fire going, the heart has enough fuel inside of it to burn, because that's the nature of the neshama, that it's burning to get close to Hashem. And with that fire, ha'oilem ha'halel, that's going up from its own, what's the desire of the neshama? Lipared min apsila. The neshama wants so much to be lipared, to separate itself from the psila, from the wick, which is the body. Beli hashke to menucha, without calmness. That's the nature of the fire. Which means a person says, my life is completely different. Every day after davening. Completely different today. Chol hishtanus, and that's why the Alter Rebbe says over here, in every change, any change that you're going to make in anything is dafka through fire. Mitzraf lakesef, like we say that a mitzraf is a what's the right word for mitzraf? With a crucible, yeah, with a melt silver. The kur lezahav, and gold too is melted in ad ki hagu sigim mekesef, until you can all the dregs and all the dregs of the silver are expelled from it. And the same thing the neshama has, right? The person has to get rid of the psilas that's in him. You put it through the fire of the inspiration. The od rezu shemislav shemislahet to mislav b'leiv ha'adam. Now this tzitzis, which is the ha'ora that is now sparking, that's firing up the heart of the person, who inyan b'chinas tcheles v'lavan shebetzitzis. That's why the tzitzis has blue and white. The blue string, one blue string, and three what's it called again? It turns into 8, but really it's before it's folded in half. It's one is blue, the other 3 are white. And what is that? Kipchinas lovan, because whiteness, moed al ava, is indicative on love. Kirish peish, like flames of fire. Kishal heves, like, because white is more the kishal heves mislav beleva adam. B'chlal, the color associated with chesed, which is ava, with his love, is white. V'hat cheles, and the blue, moed al apachad. Because we always say that we look at tzitzis, it's going to create a fear, because it's doimel l'rekia, to the heavens, and the rekia, doimel l'kisei hakavod, a person has fear of the king. Moed al apachad shebeliboy. It's indicative of the. It symbolizes the fear or the dread that's in a person's heart. So that's the tzitzis. The tzitzis needs to affect the heart in 2 ways: in tcheles and in lava. And now he gives you a little bit of a Kabbalistic background to that. Shara tzitzis perik dalet. The love on the whiteness, nimshach memoyach habina. Whiteness is drawn from the moyach of bina, v'tcheles ma'aba. So in Chassidus it says, in Kabbalah it says, and the Arizal says that the whiteness of the tzitzis is coming from bina, and the tcheles is coming from abba, from chachma. And we know that these two sources, chachma and bina, are the source as follows. Bina, it says, is the source of love, and chachma is the source of fear. Emein chachma ein yira. If there's no chachma, there's no yira. We learned it last week a little bit. That when if a person has a giloy of the emes of the Eibishter, as it is in chachma, it reaches total bittul. But bina means you're standing in bina, you don't have that closeness, you don't have that revelation of the Eibishter himself. The Eibishter is more at a distance, farther away from you. And you are just in your mind imagining the greatness of God. When a person is not standing in front of the king, but he in his own mind is imagining the king's greatness, that then you can create within yourself the desire, the longing to want to get close to the king. So in Chassidus it says that Bina is the source of, that's why it says Bina is father and mother. So it says B'chlal, the relationship is, and then there's two children. The two children are son and daughter. The son is love, and daughter is Isha Yiras Hashem, is fear of God. Malchus. Malchus is fear. The Zeir Anpin is Ava, is love, primarily. So it says an interesting relationship. And Chachma Bina is father and mother. So we know B'chlal, in the relationship of parents and children, a father has a deeper bond with his daughter than with his sons. And a son and a mother has a special connection to her boys. Mom's boy and daddy's girl. That's just the way this always works. So it's also spiritually this inyan. It's spiritually the inyan is as well that Chachma Yasid Brata, that Chachma is the source of Malchus, and Bina Eim Habanim, she's the mother of the sons. Eim Habanim Samech. So psychologically that means that the power experience of Bina stimulates more the feeling of love, and the experience of Chachma, which is the visual of seeing the Eibishter, stimulates a fear and a yira. So this makes sense with what we're learning over here. In Kabbalah it says that Cheles comes from Chachma, and the Lavan of the Tzitzis is coming from Bina. So it makes sense that the reaction is going to be love and fear, each one in accordance. The Lavan is going to create the love, and the Cheles and the blue die on the Tzitzis in a creative fear. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek is adding over here. I'll take you to a question in a second. As he says over here, let's go, hold on. The Haine course goes to Chaim Shara Tzitzis Peridal. The love and Nimshach Mamoyach Bina Cheles Ma'aba. V'noid, it is known the Bina hu Makara Ava. The Bina is the source of love. Kirish Be'esh, like the flames of fire. The Chachma B'chenes Yirei Yila, and Chachma is associated with higher fear. V'Abba Yasid Brata hu B'chenes Yirei Tata, and the father is the source of the daughter, which is Malchus, which is the lower fear. We learned about this last week. So it says like this: Eretz, that's Malchus. Eretz is Malchus, because it's the lowest madrega, which is fear. Where is Malchus founded on? Bechachma. What's the foundation of Malchus, which is fear? Chachma. How about Koinen Shamayim? Shamayim is Eish, even though Eish and Mayim, but those are the emotions, and the Iker it's Eish. So what is that? Bitvuna, that comes from Bina. Yes, what was your question? Yes, but they cross over. Yeah. And this is what it says. Ein pachad Elokim. Hear what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here. See, it's these taichin of psukim, like you have in this mimer, that is very, very characteristic of the earlier Memarim. As I mentioned earlier, this is from the early Memarim of the Alter Rebbe, very fiery. So there's a pasuk that says, Ein pachad Elokim laneged einov. There's no fear of God in front of his eyes. So the Alter Rebbe is learning, Ein pachad Elokim, the reason why you're not budging and you're not dreading God, laneged einov, because godliness is only intellectually. You're only seeing it. You're learning. You're learning Torah. You're perceiving it only with your eyes, with your intellect. You're not allowing it to penetrate into your heart. Chassidim knew that that's the whole point of davening. They learned Chassidus, but learning Chassidus wasn't enough. Learning Chassidus without davening with it was considered mamish a waste in the earlier generations. Why? Because you're becoming a philosopher. You're becoming so you know a lot. You know your dias alakus, but it's not going to have any impact on your life. When a chassid would sit and meditate on this for hours, thinking and thinking, and what was the point of the meditation? Not to understand it deeper, but it was to have the das, to feel it, that he feels the reality of it, and suddenly the inyan starts becoming so live, and suddenly it's as if he's experiencing it, and in that it's not as if he mamish starts experiencing it, and then his heart suddenly feels the truth and the reality of it. And then it makes a change in his life. Then it gives. So the Alter Rebbe explains, Ein pachad Elokim leneged einov, ki kol zman shu adayin b'chinas leneged einov, as long as Eibishter Elokus, Getlichkeit, is only opposite a person's eyes. Shuhu b'chinas riyas haseichel bevad, it's only the riyas haseichel, it's only that the mind's eye sees it. Ein loy pachad Elokim, he doesn't have dread of the Eibishter. Ki pachad u believe dafka. Because dread is dafke in the heart. That it should fall upon a person. A dread and a fear in the revealed part is heart. Because fear, you might say, Eish, I understand. But how did the Alter Rebbe say earlier? He differentiated between the moyach and the leiv. Moyach is cold. The physical anatomy of the brain is cold and wet. The heart is hot and dry and drier. But you'll argue, you'll say, okay, versteh, love is passion, is fire. But dread, what does dread have to do with the heart? He says, because fire also has the qualities. You might think fakert, you might think that dread and fear, it's like when a person is very scared, suddenly they go numb. It's a lack of activity. Love is action, fervor, movement, passion, fire. When a person is dreading, suddenly they go numb and silence. They can't move. It's fakert. So it's the calmness. But it's not calm. Even though it's a bittul, but it's not a calm bittul. Why? It's like, and if you take a look at a fire, fire has two colors in it. There's the whiteness of the fire, and then there's the blueness of the fire. The blueness at the bottom of the fire is indicating the second emotion that's related to fire, which is passion and dread. Because pachad is also rooted in the element of fire. It's like the gavin, like the color of the cheles, of the blue that's in fire. Or in a psila, in a wick, you'll see next to, very close to the wick, is a dark color as opposed to the bright color. So the bright color is referring to the chesed element. The dark color is talking about the gevura element. Mamash kenoida. So that's the idea. Tzitzis is meant to get to your heart, to fire up the heart of a yid. Gilu yalokus, that reaches the heart, responding in two ways, in tcheles and in lava. Okay, but now is a very important idea. When we're talking about visualization, experiencing the Eibishter, so we know in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says when you're trying to really, I don't remember in what context he's saying it, Perik, in the Mems over there, the Alter Rebbe wants to tell you how a person can bring himself to love and to fear. So one of the things he says is that you should create a visualization. You should visualize and imagine like you're seeing. You're seeing how, whatever, what's the Lashon over there? You're visualizing that the world is being created from nothing. Something, I don't think so. I think it's something else. But Al Kapanim, he's talking about that kind of visualization is the person is creating. He says tzitzis is not you're bringing yourself, you're producing this vision. This is the Eibishter is mashpia this vision into you. He says tzitzis is lashon, is feminine lashon nikeva. It's that the person is makam, you're being shown something. It's not that you're seeing. Someone is opening your eyes to see. Someone is making you see. That's the thing. You're receiving the vision as opposed to conjuring up the vision. It's being shown to you. Tzitzis is lashon nekeva. Tzitzis is lashon nekeva. Knesses Yisroel, because Knesses Yisroel mekabel es ha'orah zumul ma'ila, is receiving this ha'orah, this ray, b'pchina soiviv kol almin, from the soiviv kol almin. That means, in other words, the Eibishter that is encompassing and bigger and higher than you, and therefore outside of your consciousness, and you're not is flashing light and making you see him. Like it says, meitzitz min acharakim, that it means that Hashem is peeking through the cracks. But the deeper meaning is not that he's done peeking and seeing us. Meitzitz min acharakim means he's flashing his light to you through the cracks. A person has big walls. The world itself, the creation is big. The inyan of olam of the world is a wall, a big wall that's blocking a person's perception of seeing the Eibishter. So what does the Eibishter do? There's a crack there, and the Eibishter flashes a light through the crack to get the person's attention.
Meitzes Loshen Mafil. The Eibishter is being mafil the Riyah. He's causing the vision. The Loshen Zachar. It's masculine. How would you say Meitzes in Metzitz? I don't know how you would say it in feminine, but Meitzes is a Loshen Zachar. Why? Because it's coming from the Mashpia to the Makam. Tzitzis is us receiving that flash. The Loshen Zachar HaMashpia. Sha'akadosh Baruch Hu mafilu mashpia arazu b'knesses Yisroel. The Eibishter is affecting and shining this ray into Knesses Yisroel. Liyos lehem b'chinas arazu, that they should have this ha'ara b'his galos alev. Every day the Eibishter flashes the tzitzis at you. When you're putting on tzitzis, it's the Eibishter flashing his emes to you through the tzitzis, and the Eibishter wants it to reach your heart. B'chinas ha'lev roya. Bezgalo said that this ha'ara should be shining to the point that the heart should see. Umargish, and so that you should respond, you should feel it. Umispoil, and you should get excited. Betagburis yisoid eisha lekisha benefesh lekis, with the intensification of the fiery element of the godly soul. Fahai, but how does the Eibishter get to your neshama? Al yedei charakim v'chaloinais. You first have to have some cracks in your wall. If chas v'shalom, a person doesn't have a person has created big walls, and those walls of ego, of self-importance, don't have any cracks, so there's no room for the Eibishter to get in. So there needs to be some cracks in a person's ego and a person's sense of whatever, and that's what we always find. When the Eibishter says, "Up it, we don't need it anymore." Sometimes a person goes through a hard time. Suddenly, when the things of Yiddishkeit speak to them. Until then, there's a certain stiffness. And there was a little bit of a crack. Oh, can I do the Knesset Yisroel has been cracked enough. We don't need any more cracking. But there's enough cracks already. But in any case, which is a broken heart, ruach nishbara, and a broken spirit. As it says, Pischili, the Eibishter says, at least open me up a little crack. Make for me a little. You have to open up. Break your. As stated elsewhere. What does that really mean? It means the light of Avad Rabba. Habomel Maila. We learn in Chassidus in many places, we learned it last week. We learned it by the Bnei Gershom, we learned Mamish this Indian, that there's two levels of love we learned. There's love, Momatala Maila. Love called Avas Oilam. A person doesn't have an inspiration. You're opening up in the morning, you're coming into shul, you're sitting down, you're taking out a talis, it's tefillin, or you're whatever, you're taking out your siddur, you're going to daven. The Asta B'nishma, you don't have with what to daven with. There's no excitement. So what you do is you start thinking. You take out a Chassidic Sefer first, you learn a little Chassidus, you learn something, so you have a little bit what to think about. And then you start meditating in the words. Hopefully you start getting an awareness of the Eibush to get excited. But then that Ava that's coming is an Ava that's created from a person. It's coming from it says that we always have to do that. We have to create, it says that even though fire in the Beis HaMikdash, even though fire came down from above, you first have to create your own fire. Mitzvah lahevim and ahedyet. You have to bring fire from your own. Once you do that like in the Mizbeach, you put the fire down, suddenly a fire from above came down to match your fire. So it says like this, the fire that a person creates from within himself, as he creates that fire, that's not the real love. Because then you're loving God with a very finite love. But when a person is zoiche, that the Eibishter sends down a fire from above, that means the Eibishter's love to us is suddenly felt inside the neshama. And what does that do to the neshama? It adds powerful kerosene. And suddenly that little fire of the neshama suddenly explodes like an incredible inferno, like a volcano. Why? And now you're loving the Eibishter, not with human love, but with godly love. And that's called Ava Rabba. Last week we learned that the avoid these two types of love and the chibur of them, Bnei Gershon did that, and we learned that it's really rooted in the Kohen Gadol in Aaron. That's the idea of Balois Chesaneres. When Aaron would come and light the neres, he would bring Ava Rabba, fire from above. That's, by the way, the difference between, it says there are two royim that are both related to love. Avram Avinu is related to love, and Aaron HaKohen is related to love. What's the difference between Avram Avinu and Aaron? Why do we need two royim, two shepherds that are constantly nurturing our souls with love? So it says there's two levels of love. Avram Avinu was a philosopher, was a thinker. He came to know Hashem through his own research. Afterwards, the Eibishter was Nizgala to him. So therefore, Avram Avinu gives us the koyach for meditation. Avram Avinu gives you, Vayashkem Avram Baboiker. Avram Avinu gives you the koyach in the morning. There's no inspiration. You, from within yourself, should be able to get to a state of Avas Olam, loving the Eibishter. Once Avram Avinu finishes his job, and it's interesting. I saw such gewaldig in Yonim. Once Avram Avinu finishes his job, where's Avram Avinu's avodah stop? It says, Avram, all of his life, halach v'nesoya. What did we say earlier? What does fire do? It makes you restless. You're passionate. So halach v'nesoya. Avram was always moving. But how far did Avram reach? Hanegba, until the south. South is love, chesed. That's because south is on the right side. When you're facing east, which is the front, south on the, so it's chesed. So Avram reached the highest pinnacles of love that could be created from within the worldly experience. That's where he reached Hanegba. Where Avram ends, that's where Aaron starts. When you reach the peak of what you can create from within your own soul. Why? Where was the menorah? The menorah was on the south of the. So you're already you're already in the south. You're already there. You're already Hanegba. You're at the peak where Avram can bring you. Now the Kohen Gadol walks in. He's the Kohen Gadol. He's the channel to channel God's love to your soul. And he ignites your soul now with love infinitely bigger than you could have ever created. By the way, that's why both Avram and Aaron have the word Har inside their name. Because in Chassidus, we learned it last week, Har represents love. But Aaron HaKohen, we learned last week in the Mimer, he's buried Bahoir Hor, on a mountain, on top of a mountain. It's the second level of love. It's the love that's infinite, that's coming from above. So he says, this is the idea of tzitzis. Tzitzis is not, it's a godly love that's meitzitz, that's being nishpa to a person to fire him up with a fire of a lakus that's bigger than what the human mind can create. So he says, and the Kohen Gadol taka, Aaron wore the tzitz, same word like tzitzis. That's why Aaron wears a tzitz, which tzitz and tzitzis is the same thing. When he wore that tzitz, Aaron walked around the base of Mikdash zapping everybody with love. That's what it was, like a spiritual zap. And this is the light of this great Rav, that comes from above. That's Aaron. The problem is you can get electrocuted. Such love, it can burn you up completely. That's why this love has to come through Aaron's beard. Zakan Aaron. The beard is a very small, narrow little tube, a channel, through which Aaron's energy can reach a person. Because chas v'sholom, if you would touch Aaron not through his beard, fartik. I'll tell you a story, talk about touching. There's a fellow, his name is Avi Taub. A Chabadnik in Eretz Yisroel. I got to know him recently. And I'm going to verify the story from him. I didn't verify, I can do it tonight. I'm on a WhatsApp, he's in Eretz Yisroel. So he was involved in fixing the kvarim of the Chabad Rabbeim. The Rebbe sent him and David Nachshon to the kvarim in Eretz Yisrael to fix the kvarim. So a good friend of his heard it from himself relate this story. In 1987, he went to Hadich, where the Alter Rebbe is. Now, if you ever went to Hadich, down stairs, and the Alter Rebbe is like in a forest at the bottom. So he went down, and it was the middle of the winter. And those in 1987, there wasn't yet stairs. There was nothing. It was like a slope. And it was very, very dangerous. It was very low, hard to, the winter especially. He went down there. The other guys went up already. He decided he wants to say more Tehillim. So he's standing there saying Tehillim. And I guess it was snowing already before, but it started snowing like crazy. Mamish. And he wasn't dressed. He's Israeli. He's not used to such cold. He wasn't dressed the way he should be. And suddenly he starts to want to make his way up. And he can't go up. He can't move because the snow literally hit him, mamish, up to his like hips, and he couldn't move. He couldn't walk. He feels like he's frozen. And and he's standing over there. He can't move. And he starts screaming, help, whatever, screaming, David. No one hears him. They're in the car. They're probably listening to music or something. They're all the way on the top and garnished, and they don't know. And he feels that any minute he realizes he's going to faint, he's going to die, and finished. He thinks to himself, I came in for a shlichus of the Rebbe to do something, and this is where I'm going to die. He suddenly, in his mind, he envisioned that he's in the Rebbe's room. And he's talking to the Rebbe. And he says, Rebbe, come on, are you kidding with me? You sent me here, this is what you really planned. This is what you figured, how am I going to get Taub exactly over there? Is this the kavan? Is this what you want? And suddenly, this is the story. He says the Rebbe was physically there in Hadich, standing next to him. And the Rebbe stretches out his hand to him. And here's a chassid. He says, Chassidim don't give the hand to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe is like, gives him his hand the second time. He goes, no. So the Rebbe shows him a gartel, and he tells him like to take onto the gartel. So he takes a hold of the gartel, and the next thing he knows, he's by the car. He has no idea what happened. He's by the car on the top. He gets into the car, and that was it. He explains it that the gartel represents the Rebbe's inyanim, the things that you become a kusher through it. And yeah, it means that the Rebbe was telling him, hold on, be makusher to me and what I stand for. And what. But that's the idea. That what? Why am I saying that? That you touch the tzaddik's hand, it's a whole different story. Aaron, you can't touch. You can touch the hair of his beard. That's where the channels come through the gartel, through the... Anyway, Zakana Aaron Ein Shom. I'm Revikach Koirach Be'inyan Zakana Aaron Shu Inyan Aleph Im Chutei Tzitzis. And it's interesting. It says in the Maimer Vayikach Koirach that which is next week's Maimer, has all to do with Tzitzis. It says that the beard is the same idea as Tzitzis. Tzitzis is also called hair. Vayikacheni B'tzitzis Reishi. Tzitzis is called hair. So the Tzitzis is the same concept as the hair of the beard. But it's the beard of Aaron. V'ayim Pri Yitzchayim Shara Tzitzis Perigim. V'ayim goes to be in Ava Rabba da Aaron. Al Pasik V'alois Chesanerois. V'al Pasik V'sisa Big the Kodesh La Aaron Ein Shom. L'fima Shekasavnu the B'chinas Ava Rabba da Aaron. Based on what we wrote, that the great love of Aaron is the Inyan Chutei HaTzitzis. These are the strands of the Tzitzis. In Ken Yuvan, it's understood the B'chinas Big Day Kodesh da Aaron. Comes out that the garments of Aaron Hamalavusha Manasim and Maisei HaMitzvahs like what we explained. Okay, the next piece we will only understand by looking further. So let's continue further. But why do we leave off? We left off that the whole idea of the tzitzis is it's the Eibishter beaming light to a person from amongst the darkness to bring you to be aware of him and what way that it reaches your heart so that you can respond to him with love and with fear. But the Eibishter says, I need a crack. I need a place to enter. I can't shine my light if you're blocking. And hear this. Knesset Yisroel says to the Eibishter, it says in the Pasuk, the Eibishter says, Pischi li achos. If you look in Shir HaShirim, the Eibishter is knocking on the door. He says, open up. And the bride, the whole story of Shir HaShirim is a groom and a bride. And the groom comes to see his kala, and he says, open the door for me. And she says, I'm already in bed. Pshati said, Katanti, I'm in my pajamas. I can't come. This is what a Yid says to the Eibishter. Pashatati as Katanti. I've already removed my clothing. How can I get dressed again? Rachatzti as Raglai. I've washed my feet already. I'm going to step back on the floor and get my feet dirty already. I'm already. I had my shower already. Ich bin schon in bed. You know. How many times the Eibishter come knocking on our doors and we tell them this answer, right? I'm in bed already. Please leave me alone. Shehumayna klolas Yisroel. This is the answer of the Jewish people. Al Maimah Pischili. The Eibishter says, "She'omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu." The Eibishter says, "Ki leyois oid Hashem meirum esgala begilui alev." The Eibishter so badly wants to enter into your heart, in order that the light of the Eibishter should be able to shine in the revealed part of a person's heart. Begilui alev shel adam leyois kamaymer pischili. It's in order that there should be pischili, you should be open. All a person sits. This is the Eibishter's work, as we said earlier. It's him shine. It's not your work. You don't have to do anything. But you have to be a recipient to be able to receive it. So for that, you need two bechinois in order to be able to be a keli to receive the tzitzis. What are they? Two things. Number one, you need to get dressed. And number two, you have to get your feet dirty. You have to be willing to get your feet dirty. You say, what does that mean? Because that's what Knesset Yisroel says. Knesset Yisroel says, I can't get my feet dirty. I've already removed my garment. I can't get dressed. So what are these two inyanim that we're resisting? The Eibishter wants us to do that, but we're resisting dafka these two things. I can't get dressed anymore. I already got undressed. I can't get dressed. I can't put my feet down on the ground. What does that mean? So he starts with the second inyan. When we say, how can I get my feet dirty? It means is for a person to be from Mare de Chushbina. Mare de Chushbina means masters of accounting. It's a lashon from Zohar, where the Zohar says, Lachshoiv, The Zohar says that the word Yidden, especially Yidden, they're the masters of accounting. It means they made a cheshbon hanefesh all the time. Li'lachshoy, for a person to think, kol machshav dibur ma'isa shaloi tovim. When a person does a serious scan of every thought, speech, and action that was not good, Rabbeinu Shalom, forget about it, I quit already now. You start, imagine to have a calculation. One time, 6 months ago, on Tuesday, I had a psamachshav, a thought. Here we're talking about people that are record keepers. They keep record of all thought, speech, and actions that were not good. Maayon meyoisai, from the day he was born, like the holy tzaddik Rebbe Lemelech of Lzensk. One saw a little baby. What's it called again? His anacle was hitting his mother. His mother was hitting the mother. And the Melech suddenly got like, whoa, he couldn't believe it. A baby hits a mama, yeah, this kibbut of a murder that. He like was beside himself. And Rabbi Melech's mother said, you did the same thing. You know, you also did it. He couldn't believe it. The next thing they knew, Rabbi Melech was in the mikveh where they were hiding, eating the thing. He put his hands into the coals to burn his hands for a kapara. So this whole story is about what happened. It was a nace. Rabbi Melech had one hand that was a baby hand, because his hand returned afterwards. The whole miracle it was that his hand was like solid, and he burnt because his hand. I mean, tzaddikim, they had nothing else to do tshuva for, but for when he was a little baby, at that point. So these are people that Maayon meyoisai. Baruch Hashem, we don't have to search so far back. Every person can think within the last half an hour. Let's just take a half an hour. Va'afila chatas neurim, even the chatas of neurim. That the Alter Rebbe is talking about the chatas neurim that for these people they only did it when he was very, very neurim. But chas v'shalom, when a person has not gotten out of the neurim yet, sadly. It's not enough that a person says, why do I have to think about these avedas from such an early time? I've already been ischaret. I've already did charata. I have already done tshuva on them. L'chein ksiv, and that's why we say already, I've already washed. I've already taken care of business. I've already done tshuva on them. I've already cleaned my feet. I already washed. I've already done tshuva. How am I going to make them dirty again? Means I'm going to put myself through that hardship. I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to feel the contrition and the regret, and because everybody likes to feel, so nice about themselves. And now I'm going to have to suddenly re-examine my ugliness. And what's the point? How can I again embarrass myself and to get my to get my feet dirty again, which means to remind myself again a lie upon me. Who wants to go through this tshuva process? Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, you have no choice. So it's my tshuva the last minute. We're not going to do it, so you have to go through and do this uncomfortable experience of tshuva. But as a person says, I did it already. And what does it mean I washed my feet? What's the feet? Feet, he says, that's your sense of comfort. Because your feet is like your feet is what holds you up. So you have a certain sense of importance. I'm a good person, I'm a fine this, you have a certain self-image that makes you stand upon yourself to feel, and the person doesn't want to make that dirty. I don't want to make that murky. Now, I say this is going to lead you to depression. This doesn't lead to depression. This leads to a broken heart, which this broken heart creates the cracks. Once a yid has a broken, soft heart, then the Eibishter can penetrate, then godliness can come through. But when a person has a certain inflated self-image of self-importance, that doesn't allow the Eibishter to come through. Hold on. It's what stands the godly soul. He has to keep the in front of his eyes all the time. And a person should always be disgusted with his or her mistakes and her previous behavior, to bring a person to that broken heart. So that's the inyan of atanfe, that is necessary, a soft heart. But there's another inyan. And here's the second thing. You also need to be dressed. You need to have a lavush. In order to be able to have the tzitzis, the meitzitz, the Eibishter's pischili, which is the tzitzis. Why? Because tzitzis are fringes, but the fringes come from something. You can't have just, if someone is holding tzitzis, it's not a mitzvah. The tzitzis have to come from a beged. So there has to be a lavush, there has to be a garment from where the tzitzis comes from. What's the garment from where the tzitzis comes from? And the bechina of dressing itself up, Yuvan Bahagdim will be understood first, Maimer Rizal, about a Maimer of Chazal. Chazal say as follows, Tov Kuf Tes Vov Tfilois, Keminyan Veschan on Eschan and Moshe Shiakanis La'aretz. Moshe Rabbeinu pleaded with God 515 tfilos to be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. Why? What was so good about Eretz Yisrael that Moshe has to go there? The Gemara says, does Moshe Rabbeinu need the fruits of Eretz Yisrael? That's what really he was thinking about. Because Moshe Rabbeinu appreciated that in Eretz Yisrael is where you can do physical mitzvahs. Shenetztava Yisrael that Yidden were commanded. The ef shalakaimon kiyam be'Eretz Yisrael. You can't, most of the physical mitzvahs you can't do only in Eretz Yisrael. Ya mitzvahs ma'asiyah shenehagim b'chutz li'aretz. Because the physical mitzvahs that apply outside of the land of Israel, for instance, like tefillin or tzitzis or Shabbos, tzedakah, kibbud avim, all these mitzvahs, einom elo be'erech chelik chamishis min hamach mitzvahs. It's about a fifth of the 248 mitzvahs. Imagine, 4/5 of Yiddishkeit we don't do today, outside of Eretz Yisrael. The arba hayados and the 4 portions, einoi noyakim be'Eretz Yisrael, is only noyhoik. It's interesting, last week we also learned about 4 hands. Yad. Anyways. But in any case, the 4 hands of mitzvahs are only nageya where be'Eretz Yisrael dafk. V'ruban, and most of them, even in Eretz Yisrael, don't apply today. Bisman shebeis hamikdash kayam, only when the Beis Hamikdash was standing. Kamay karbanos, like the sacrifices and the like. Okay, so that's why Moshe Rabbeinu so urgently wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael. But I don't understand. Although I haven't understand. Lama ratza Moshe Rabbeinu olav Hashem l'kayim mitzvahs ma'asiyas daft. I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu is the peak of spirituality. Moshe Rabbeinu is the peak of chachma, fear of God. Talk about godly experience and the highest levels of love and fear and bittul and the like. So why is he so adamant that he has to shake a lulav? I mean, the lulav he can shake in the midbar, but how is Moshe Rabbeinu so adamant that he has to give truma and meiser and leket and shikha and all these mitzvahs? But the answer is, the highest godliness is dafke in the low physical mitzvahs. Based on the rule, not tchilasam b'soifam, that the highest, the deepest is wedged in the beginning. The Eibishter is highest. The essence of God, dafka manifests in physical earth. But in order to connect to that, but you can walk on the physical, no. In order to connect, you have to do the mitzvah with the physical, and then you unleash the power of the Eibishter that's dafka in physicality. And that power of Eibishter that's in physicality is the essence of the Eibishter, much higher than the revelation of the Eibishter in the higher spiritual worlds. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew the secret of the physical. It says in Medrash that Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a fascinating Medrash. The dialogue that the Eibishter has with Moshe Rabbeinu to get him to pass away. Moshe doesn't want to. He's arguing. This Tov Kuf Tezvav till the end of the Zoysa Bracha. It's a fascinating Medrash. Moshe Rabbeinu pleads with the Eibishter and he says, please God, let me stay alive. If not as a human, let me be a bird. Let me be a... It's like you wonder, what is he expecting? He's going to Olam Haba, he's going to the highest land. Moshe Rabbeinu knows the secret of the physical world. He wants to just be in the physical world because he knows there's something so precious. The Eibishter Oiskegas, like the Rebbe Rashab once rolled up his sleeve, and he said, of them guf, or that Eibishter Oiskegas, and the Eibishter poured out 613 commandments to bring out the godliness that's in the physical body. So this is the idea. It says, "V'tzedakah tiyalanu." It's going to be a great tzedakah. Ki nishmar lasei, says kol hamitzvah. When we're going to observe to keep all the mitzvahs. Now, what do you see from there? That all the mitzvahs are called tzedakah. Ki kol hamitzvahs nikram b'shem tzedakah. All mitzvahs are called tzedakah. That's stage number 1. Number 1 is every mitzvah is called tzedakah. Ki kamoi. But what's the parallel between tzedakah and all mitzvahs? Ki kamoi shetzedakah hu b'chinas levush. Now, what do we know about tzedakah? Tzedakah is considered a garment. Where do we know that? It says, levusha tzedakah. Like it says, levusha tzedakah, Hashem's garment is tzedakah. Ekamayim Razal al pasuk, and like Chazal say on the pasuk, ukebeged edyom kol tzidkosenu, and like a beged of an ornament. Edyom, I think over here means ornament. Kol tzidkosenu is all of our tzedakah. So the Chazal say, ma beged zeh kol nima v'nima mitztarefes lebeged gadol. Just like a beged is made up of what? Of a bunch of threads. When you think about a garment, you have a garment is very chashiv. A beautiful dress, a beautiful suit. But you think about what you started with, little threads. Each thread on their own has absolutely garnished, no significance. Put it all together, it becomes tremendous. Of tzedakah, kol pruta pruta. You give little acts of tzedakah all day long, a penny here, a nickel there, a dime over there. Mitztarefes l'cheshbon gadol becomes a big cheshbon or whatever. That's what it says. Kach kol ha-mitzvahs hem bechinas levushim. So just like, so you see there's a parallel between, you see that Chazal dafka use for tzedakah the mashal of a beged, because tzedakah is a beged. So too, all mitzvahs are called tzedakah, they're all a beged. The whole nima v'nima. Oh, in tzedakah you have every penny you put in the pushka. But in a mitzvah, and another mitzvah, what is that we say nima v'nima, every thread? Because every mitzvah is made up from a bunch of halachas. So this are the details of the halachas. Which it says are like Chazal say, like mountains that are hanging on hears. But starfin the cheshbon gadol, it all comes together to a cheshbon gadol. What does it mean cheshbon gadol? What's gadol? What's the cheshbon gadol? Shubchinas makif esoyeviv. Cheshbon gadol. What's gadol? Gadol is referring to gadol Hashem amuhulo me'oid. The Eibishter is great, and he's very, very praised. Gadol Hashem. So what does Gadol Hashem mean? We learned earlier the Eibishter is Mamala Kalalman and Soiviv Kalalman. So Mamala Kalalman, the Eibishter contracts himself to be small. That's not Gadol. We learned it's the Teichen of today's Chitas, of today's Tanya. The Alter Rebbe says that because the world are finite, so the Koyach Eloki that's Mamala, the world is also a finite, or at least expressing itself in a finite way. But the Soiviv Kalalman is the Eibishter's Gadlus, the Eibishter as he is. So Chazal is saying, how do you access the Gadol Havaya? Not a limited perception of God, but how do you access the ganzer Eibishter, the whole God, the Eibishter as he is truly? Dafka mitzvahs ma'asiyos. Physical mitzvahs, dafka, in them is enclosed Hashem himself. Torah itself, the understanding of the mitzvah of Torah is also a mitzvah, but not the mitzvah of Torah. The understanding of Torah is a godliness that's measured, because you're taking in Torah little thoughts that was what you're comprehending, what you're understanding. But in the mitzvah is that Eibishter himself. That's why we always say in Chassidus, we learned many times, that mitzvahs, how many mitzvahs are there? 613. Together with the 7 mitzvahs that Rabbanan, 620, Gematria Keser. Keser is the all-encompassing infinite light of the Eibishter. It starts from Cheshbon Gadol Shubchinas Makiv v'Soiviv Kalalman, which is the Makiv and the Soiviv Kalalman. V'ayim hashkaz b'in Cheshbon Gadol b'yid abaz esfart on Lochem, v'ayim eretz shara knows Cheshbon Gadol, and l'mayla be'erech anpin b'chinas Soiviv Kalalman, u'lugdulosai ein cheker, that which you can't fathom. V'ayim hashkaz b'in makamach b'azi v'asam b'riv v'skoid v'azoi parshas Chaisara, k'am meir shana ad v'razah de meir p'chanda b'chol yoyim. Okay. V'hinei ksiv, and it says in the pasuk, but here's the secret. Where a person cannot find the maisa that God did, that the Eibishter did, from the beginning to the end. What does that mean? The kavana of creation was the person should not understand the power of maisa, the power of action. No, I'm sorry, I read it a little wrong. The person should not really, the Eibishter created the world basically, the Eibishter created the world in a confusing way. That we don't really appreciate what's really great and what's really small. What's the beginning and what's the end, and what's the meaning. What does that mean? Because basically our value system that we have a certain value system in which when we set certain values, if you speak to a philosopher, he would tell you, the human, the animal, yeah, the vegetable, and a stone, stama loser. There's no mila to it. And that's the way it is, mitzad human thinking. Till the Eibishter revealed to the Arizal or Zoyar or whatever, or the Baal Shem Tov or whatever it was, that no. The Ikir Kavana and the Ikir power is in the Gashmis. But mitzad our perception and our evaluation, we get it all wrong. Shaharei, b'madrego mailas habriya, according to the value and estimation of creation, shehi doimim tzameach chai medaber, the inanimate, the vegetation, the animal, and the human. Harei Adam shu ha-medaber, the Adam who is the medaber, u'b'mayla madrega gavoya, he's on a very high level, v'oil al-kalana, he's much higher than everything else. V'rei anu royim b'chush, and we see literally. But we see an interesting thing. If the human is such a knacker, if the human being is such a macher and such a great guy, how come he can't sustain himself without everybody else? He needs the vegetable, he needs the animal, he even needs the inanimate. But the interesting thing is, the inanimate doesn't need the human. He can live a very good life without him. So what do you see? The one that needs the other means the other one supports him. Says Gufa, in order to enliven his body, he needs memine machal, he needs types of food. Habal chai, coming from the animal. And even from vegetation, v'doimim, and inanimate. Kamoy melach, where do you see that a person has to come on to the mineral? Salt. Ki ha-maichel ein tzarech la'adam. You ever thought about that? Sit down to a plate of food. Sit down to a plate of food and have a little conversation. See who the needy one is. See who the needy one. The food says, I don't need you. And the person that needs it. The food doesn't need the person. And the person needs the food. And on the contrary, that is offer, earth. The earth creates gives you the tzemeach, which is the bread. And all types of vegetation. It doesn't need the vegetation, but the vegetation needs it. Says Adam, to enliven the person. And why is that? That which was created last, which is meaning, and it wasn't physically created last because the Eibishter created earth, but Soif Ma'isa means that which is the end of Olam Asiyah, which is the lowest form of existence. Earth is Machshava Tchila, is wedged, and it's not, meaning it's in the thought, it's number one. So dafke in it is connection to the primordial beginning, to the very, very beginning. Same idea is also conveyed in this idea of Sefer Yetzirah, that the beginning is wedged in the end, and the end is wedged in the beginning. Because just like the Eibishter is Ein Soif, that's why the Eibishter's actions don't either have a Soif. So what do we mean by that? I think. So what is the Eibishter? L'chorah, there is a Soif. The Eibishter creates all the worlds, and finally he creates the earth. It's the last and final creation. It's the lowest. But if there's no Soif, no, the earth is not a Soif, because the earth can create infinitely. Suddenly the koyach to create yesh me'ayin, to go on and to create comes dafka in the earth. So really, even as Pa'ulis, Ein Lam Soif, they keep on creating. Kikol b'china, and in a sense, but now the Alter Rebbe learns, if he has Kikol, again, I said that Pa'ulis of Ein Lam Soif, that you see when the Eibishter creates earth, it can continue creating, but the Alter Rebbe doesn't say that, I'm sorry. Kikol b'china, the idea that it doesn't have a Soif, erase what I said before. Maybe it's true too, but that's not what it says over here. Kikol b'china u'b'china, because every level sheyitochen loymar b'china soif. Everything that you want to think that it's the soif, yitochen loymar gam kein b'chinas roish. Maybe it is a little bit what I said. You think it's the soif, and in a sense that becomes the roish. You can say on it that it is taka also the roish. It is the beginning. Fisha be'emes, in truth. In other words, whatever you look at as the lowest is really the most important, the most powerful. Because in truth, that's what you find in the world. Everything in this world is give and take. Everybody's a mashpia and everybody's a makabel, like it says, because since, you see, even though the Eibishter created a mugbal digul world, since God is the artist, there is a reflection of the artist in the art. And the reflection of the artist in the art is that since the artist is ein le'soif, ein le'tchila ve'ein le'soif, there is that reflects in his art that to it ein le'tchila ve'ein le'soif. What's the ein le'tchila ve'ein le'soif in the art, in the creation? Is that everything in this world that you think is last is a mashpia to other things. So it's rosh. So you can't point to anything and say it's rosh and soif. V'yesh lehem kol b'chinas rosh u'b'chinas soif, and everything has a rosh and a soif. In that sense, Gashmias has something very, very powerful. The kachu in yibchinas levushim, and therefore, dafke in mitzvahs, dafke the physical mitzvahs, which are actions. L'chura, they're very, very low. A person looks at it and says, oh, spirituality, this is the chepes. Davening, ava v'yira, that's something, but a physical act of a mitzvah with a Gashmias thing, what's the value of that? The kachu in yibchinas levushim, shem mitzvahs maisis, which is the physical mitzvahs. Hanal. Uklulason, why they're called levushin? Because as we said earlier, through the physical mitzvah, the person is garbing himself. The person is getting dressed in the ultimate garment. What's a garment? A garment is that what surrounds. The person is taking to himself the garment of what? Of the Soiv of Kalam, the Eibishter himself that's surrounding the person. Uklulason u'maiset tzedakah, and the general is maiset tzedakah. The fishu, why is tzedakah considered the kloliest of all the mitzvahs? Because it has tremendous amount of physical exertion in it. Talking about the mile of physicality. Fishu noisin meyigia va'amoloi asher omo b'chol koichois gufai. Guf is very important. Every mitzvah has a little bit of your physicality in it. But tzedakah has your entire physicality. Why? Because in order to make this money, you exerted all your physical strengths to make the money. So you put yourself, all of these physical koiches into the money. Now you take that entire chunk of physicality that summarizes the sum totality of all your physical muscles and sinews of your body, all the physical flesh, everything in your body that went into making this into this money, and you give that to the Eibishter. You're revealing the godliness of the body, of the physical body. That's why it's called stam mitzvah. Much because Makam is stated elsewhere. So what does it say? Your tzedakah is going to walk before you, and what is it going to do? Ikvoid Hashem ya'asveich, and the kavod of the Eibishter ya'asveich. Here's the secret word. As a result of the tzedakah, it will go before you, and the glory of God, ya'asveich, will gather you in. What does that mean? Kavod hu b'chinas levush. Kavod Hashem ya'asveich means a garment of God. Where do you find that kavod is a levush? Rabbi Yochanan used to say, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan didn't call his garments, he called them mechabduse. Let me put on that which honors me. Rabbi Yochanan Karalamani, we called his shirt or his garments mechabdusa. So now that we say that, Kvoid Hashem means the garment of the Eibishter, Ya'asveich will gather you in. Ya'asveich, it's taking the neshama of the person and absorbing it into Elokus. La'akifai, to surround it, to encompass the neshama. Mikol tzedada, from all the sides. And now the neshama, and now this godliness of the mitzvahs becomes a shield, ulamaster, and a protection. Kebeged, like a garment, sheshamroi, that protects the person minatzina, from cold. Like it says, Hashem shemrecha, Hashem is your guard, Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is your tzeil, He's your shadow that goes around you. Sham mitzvahs ma'asiyos, and dafka because liyoisam b'chinas doimeim, dafka because they're inanimate, b'chinas asiyah gashmias, have the quality of the soiviv kalalman. Because you would, mitzad the mamal, put it this way, mitzad the mamala kalalman, from the Eibishter's light that gives life to everything according to its level, the most diminished godliness is in a stone. The most diminished godliness is in the physical. Where is the mamala kalalman more expressed? The more sophisticated something is, which means the more spiritual something is, the more godly revelation. But that's only a little tiny ray of Hashem. That's not Him. The soil of kalalman is the Eibishter as He is in His infinite. That is, Olam Hafach is a total opposite. In the physical dafka is where that is hiding. Atakel mistater, the Eibishter is hiding his very self, dafka in the physical. So by doing mitzvahs, you're tapping in and unleashing the power of the Soivav Kalama that's in the mitzvahs and encompassing your soul. That's why they're called the Lavush. Now the Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says, this doesn't only apply to the physical mitzvah. It also applies to learning Rambam or learning all halachis. And because what are you doing when you're learning halachis? You're learning all the halachis in Shas. You're learning the Eibishter's Ratzon as it is manifest in physical actions. It's a physical dispute between two people. Today we're learning in Rambam about an Aveda, someone loses, a head, a geschäft, this, that. So these are all physical stories. And you're learning, you wonder, like especially a more spiritual soul wants to learn Chassidus all day. Doesn't want to learn Gemara. Doesn't want to learn these halachos that you have to like enter your mind into these petty little physical arguments that say, why do I have to do this? No. Why? Since it's physical, in comparison to fear of God and love of God, which is a spiritual experience. Therefore, now here's the thing. In the fear and in the love, you only have the mamalakal element. Because the fear and the love is, how does fear and love come from? As we spoke earlier, from what you perceive. Unless you're being feared and loved from the side of kalam. That's a different story. That's the Eibishter jolting you with fear and love. We're talking about the ordinary fear and love, Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, that the person's creating. That's coming from your narrow perception of Getlichkeit, which is only, you can't perceive the Soiv of Kalam, you can perceive only Mamala Kalam. So that's the godliness of your Yira Va'ava. But the act of a mitzvah is infinitely greater because the godliness that's in the mitzvah is not your conjured godliness that's coming from your appreciation. The act, it's the Eibishter, it's Getlichkeit it's the Eibishter's Ratzon. That's why when someone has a the Alter Rebbe is really dealing with Alter Rebbe was surrounded by Chassidim that were extremely spiritual people, and they would much rather revel in their Ava V'Yira all day than have to plug the intricacies. It was always a danger once the Chassidic movement began and we started firing up the souls that people would stop learning Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, and Shulchan Aruch. Why? Because you know, Chassidus is like drugs. It's like, you know, the stuff is potent, powerful, Ava V'Yira thing. Well, the Alter Rebbe keeps on directing you back to Shulchan Aruch. He keeps on directing you back to these halachas. Why? Because that's where it's in Gashmias, and as we said before, the rule is the highest is wedged in the lowest. He says, "Be'erech Yiras Hashem Avos Elozois Hem B'Pchinas Makifim." That's where the makif is. Va'ava V'Yira Hem B'Chinas Toiras Ha'Adam. It says in the pasuk, "Zois Toiras Ha'Adam." So Ava V'Yira, that's your Torah, meaning it's your godliness. Dahainu Shehem Moirim Umizgalem B'Pnimiyusay Yemahusay. This is the elokus that's indicative of what your pnimius is. Kamosha Kosav, like it says, V'Zois. Zois is fear. We spoke about this last week. Zois is fear. Zois Toiras Ha'Adam. That's the Torah. Ve'ein Zois Elayira Kanoida, as it is known. B'Zois Yave'ar. So Zois Toiras Ha'Adam, that's your pnimius, your Ava V'Yira. But what's your makifim? Your makifim are the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are your makifim. Shehu b'chinas hatcheles shebetzitzis, which the fear. Oh, we're going back. What are we saying now? The person's Ava V'Yira, that means your conscious experience of godliness that's translating into Ava V'Yira, that's Panemius. And that's why it's taka reflecting, what did we say earlier? Tzitzis is just a tiny what? A tiny little thread. But then there's the entire garment from where the thread comes from. What's the garment from where the thread comes from? What's the garment? That's the Soiv of Kalam. The Soiv of Kalam is the ginormous Eibishter. The Eibishter as he is. That's where, in the physical mitzvah, the tcheles and the lavan of the tzitzis, the blue and the white of the tzitzis, that's the giloi of a lokus that's coming to you from the mitzvah that you did. The Soiv of Kalam, the Eibishter himself, is in the mitzvahs. Tzitzis is a little conscious revelation. No, it's a little minuscule revelation from that greater divinity to inspire love and fear. through the fear of God, nikva b'leiva adam should be etched in the heart of man. And here's the nekuda. Remember what we said before, all this is going back when Knesset Yisroel says to the Eibishter, what? I can't get my feet dirty. I've already washed my feet. That means I can't have a broken heart. I've already done tshuva. I don't want to go through that mortifying experience of tshuva again. I'm done already. I feel good now about myself. I don't want to put myself through that scrutinizing, demanding thing that's going to make me be heartbroken. Another thing I don't want is I'm done with gashmias. I'm done with the physical mitzvahs. I'm relaxing now. I don't have to go chasing after every mitzvah or finish my Rambam or I removed my garments already. So now it says, without the garment, you can't have tzitzis. Because where's the tzitzis coming from? It has to come from a beged. That's what I need to put on. Dress yourself with me, so then I can shine my light through the fringe into you. First of all, have a doorway open for me to enter into your heart. That's your broken heart. But also, pull yourself into me, which means through getting dressed with me, through doing physical mitzvahs, so that I will encompass you, and then I can shine my light. Bekeshem, and just like she'ef shaliyas tzitzis b'li beged, and just like you can't have a tzitzis, by the way, we went on to the second page now. And just like you can't have a tzitzis without a beged, kach ef shaliyas ava v'yira, we can't have love and fear, b'li hakdamis asiyas kol ha-mitzvahs. You need to be able to do all the mitzvahs. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu so badly wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael, because he knew that the true experience, even of ava v'yira, can't be without the mitzvahs. Which are the makifim and the levushim. From the mitzvah comes the love and the fear. Where do you see that? Yeah, this is such beautiful pirush. Like it says, 6 years you should sow your field. What does that mean? Mishnah. These are the 6 volumes of Mishnah. 6 years means sow your field, means get to what's sowing a field. When you sow a field, you put seeds into the earth, and you reveal the power of the earth through the planting of the field. So too, when you learn Shishay Sidra Mishnah, which is Gashmias, which is the Torah of God as it's manifesting in Gashmias, what's that going to do later? Vasaftas Tvuasa, it's going to give you the grains, it's going to give you the Giloy. V'sheishanim Tizmar Karmecha, and 6 years you should prune. Tizmar, you should prune your vineyard. What is that? Shamshisha Sedarim Talmud. It's not enough just learning Mishnayos. The Alter Rebbe is demanding learning Gemara as well. 6 Sedarim of Talmud, 6 Sedarim of Mishnah. Vasaftas Tvuasa, and what are you going to do? Tainu shetasoi v'tilkoit oisam b'nafshecha. When you are going to learn all these things, then you're going to absorb all the godliness that's in these halachas. Vasafta, you will gather all that godliness as tfuascha into you. You're going to gather into your neshama all that godliness. Kamaim Razal, as Chazal say, the Talmudai biyadai ashrei misha bolakan. Anybody that comes over here and he has his Talmud, that means you took the Talmud inside of you. And after that, ayadei zetuchel gamkein shetia kvoid Hashem yasvech. And then the covet of the Eibishter will be able to gather you in. And with this, we'll understand what Chazal say. This is Gevaldik, Shatinik bebeten imoy, that the tinuk, that the fetus in its mother's womb, malam de moise kol Torah kula. They teach the tinuk the entire Torah. An unborn baby, the unborn fetus, he learns the entire Torah. And afterwards, they make him forget everything. Comes time to be born. Comes a malach. And he gives him a little smack on the lips. And that makes the child forget the whole Torah. As it is known that this famous story with the Belz Rebbe just happened in Eretz Yisrael, where there's testimony to that there was a little kid that knew Kol HaTorah Kula. There was a little kid who suddenly started telling people, he was like rolling off Zoyar and Medrashim, and when he was, as soon as after he started, before 5 years old, he was like, it was frightening, he didn't know what to do. And then, so they brought him to the Belz Rebbe. The Belz Rebbe closed the room with him, was in with him, and he came out and Altzvah guest.
The Rebbe Taka said once that the Belz Rebbe is a malach. The Belz Rebbe is a malach. So, tell you a geschmack story I saw today. That's what's on my side. A really good story. The story was like this. There's a Yid, his name was Reb Shneur Zalman Ashkenazi. So he was his grandson, great-grandson is Motel Ashkenazi, who's the Rav of Kfar Chabad. Olav Hashalom, now his passed away a few years, I think 2 years ago. Anyways, so the Zayd, his name was Rav Moshe Ashkenazi, he was a Rav in Tel Aviv, Chabad Rav in Tel Aviv, and his father was Reb Meir Ashkenazi, and his grandfather was Reb Shneur Zalman Ashkenazi. So this Reb Shneur Zalman Ashkenazi was an old chassid. When the previous Belz Rebbe, Rabbi Aaron of Belz, came to Eretz Yisroel, he stayed in this chassid's house. But this Chabad chassid, I don't know who made the arrangement, by him he stayed. This Chabad chassid was Mebnei Ali, it was a real Chassidic Yid, like from the old, and the Belz Rebbe enjoyed it tremendously by him. He didn't bother him, he had his quarters, had this and that, and he was there for a while. One time, the Belz Rebbe says to Reb Shneur Zalman, he says to him, he asked him about his children. He said he had a son. His name was Meir, whatever. Meir was a Rav in Shanghai during the war. He was involved with the Bachrim escaping. There was the Mir Yeshiva and many Chabad Bachrim also at that time. The Amshnever Rebbe. There were people that went to Shanghai through the Japanese consulate. The whole story. In any case, this Bacher, so the Belz Rebbe said to him, please do me a favor. The Belz Rebbe said, when your son comes to Eretz Yisrael, please have him come visit me. And then the Belz Rebbe then had left his house already. No, he said that before he left. Fine. So when this Meir Ashkenazi came to Eretz Yisrael, his father said, the Belz Rebbe asked that you should come see him. Now this Meir Ashkenazi had some kind of a stroke. He had a stroke that happened before, and he wasn't himself. He was still recovering from the brain injury that happened as a result of the stroke. So when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he went to visit the Belz Rebbe. The Belz Rebbe spoke to him. How he's doing, whatever. He said that whatever. So the Belz Rebbe said, even though I know you don't belong to me, you're not my chassid. But I want to give you advice and if it won't help you, if it won't help you, but at least as vetter nishaten, if I remember correctly. Even if it's not going to help you, it's not going to harm you. 3 things, he said. Number 1, don't listen to music. Number 2, don't eat any milichiks, no dairy food. And number 3, don't go to Kivrei Tzadikim. Don't go to Kivrei Tzadikim. Okay. He never understood why, but Belz Rebbe said, asked him, he accepted upon himself, did these things. Fast forward, it's 1950. The previous Chabad Rebbe passes away, and the Chassidim want the Rebbe to become Rebbe. And the Rebbe is refusing. And refusing the whole year. Meir Ashkenazi is in New York. And they say there was in those days, if anybody asked for Yechidus, to go into a private, during the year, the Rebbe accepted the Nesias the year later, but anybody that went into Yechidus during that year would what's it called again? Anybody that went into Yechidus, that year the Rebbe didn't take anybody Yechidus, because Yechidus you only go with the Rebbe. The Rebbe would say, go to the oil. Gate some shver. That's what the Rebbe would say. Go to the oil. Fine. Meir Ashkenazi came, and he says he wants Yechidus. The Rebbe said, gate some shver. He said, I have a Ira from the Belz Rebbe, ich kann nicht gehen zu Kivrei Tzadikim. So the Rebbe started inquiring about that, and he told him the story. So the Rebbe said, what's pshat? The Rebbe asked him, what's the meaning of these 3 Hairas? He says, I don't know. The Rebbe said an interesting thing, which I heard the story from before, told by Nachman Twersky, who was an Einikel, his wife is an Einikel. Nachman Twersky is the Rachman Strifka Rebbe's son. Now he's the brother of the current Rachman Strifka Rebbe. So he relates the story. You can watch it on YouTube, very geschmack. He tells the story. He's basically saying the Belz Rebbe on purposely told him not to Kivrei Tzadikim, because the Belz Rebbe wanted that would, this was the first Yechidus. You'll see in a minute, this is the first Yechidus. So the Rebbe asked him why not. So then the Rebbe said to him interesting. The Rebbe said these words, dich nicht kein Rebbe. Hast dich mir kennt fragen von was? He's not a Rebbe, you could have asked him for was.
So I have a very hard time with that because my family's a Belz Chassidic, which means not a Rebbe. The Belz and Rebbe from all people is like, if anybody's looking for an epitome of a Rebbe, maybe the Rebbe meant he's not your Rebbe. Azor, you can't. Or the other interpretation I have is that the Belz Chassidim never refer to the Belz Rebbe as a Rebbe, they refer to him as Ruf, the Belz Ruf. That's the way the Chassid, and what the beer is, I'm not getting into, but he said the Belz is always the Belz Ruf. In Galicia, many of the Rabbeim are referred to as the Baba Veruf, the Belz Ruf. They don't refer to a Rebbe for whatever reason. So that could be, again, I don't have an explanation on that. You could have asked him. And if he's a Rebbe, you can't ask questions to a Rebbe. Why? A Rebbe tells you, yeah, but he's not. You could have asked why. So he says to the Rebbe, no, he didn't say this. He didn't say. Then the Rebbe said to him, "Aber, since given the nafik, since it came out from him, tzrichen lemechesh. You have to. You don't mess with what he told you, so you got to listen." So he said to the Rebbe, "Aber du bist doch ja Rebbe." He said to the Rebbe, "Aber Rebbe, du bist doch ja Rebbe." So the Rebbe took out the gartel and put it on, and the Rebbe sat down, and this was the first Yechidus related to the Belz Rebbe. In any case, why am I telling you this story? Because, I was telling you about the Belz Rebbe. The Rebbe once, our Rebbe met the Belz Rebbe. The famous story was that the Belz Rebbe used to give, the Belz Rebbe never touched anybody, at least in those years. He didn't give his hand. He was very, very holy, and he only gave his hand wearing a kind of a glove. Maybe they don't want to electrocute anybody with his holiness, but he gave everybody only. When the Rebbe went by, this is in Berlin, the Belz Rebbe came to visit Germany, when the Rebbe went by, the Belz Rebbe took off his glove and gave him his hand, and later he inquired, "Wer is the junge Mann mit der warme Hand?" These were the words. Who is this young man with the warm hands? That's what he wanted. That's right. The Belz Rebbe then, and so our Rebbe said about the Belz Rebbe, "Ich hab ihn gesehen," I saw him, and he's a tzura without a chaymer. Tzura without a chaymer means that there's no body there, meaning he's pure spiritual, pure spiritual being without, in a sense, he's like a Rama Malach, a Malach. So when a kid didn't get the Zetz from a Malach, so you have to take him to a current Malach. That could be the reason why. Was that they brought him to the Belz Rebbe, and when he came out, he forgot everything. In any case, back to the thing over here. But the question that Rebbe says is lahav, and we have to ask the question: why do they teach him the whole Torah? Why do they make him forget? You want him to know the Torah. If you don't want him to know it, don't teach it to him. If you want him to know, why make him forget? Allah. So the Rebbe says the reason why we learn with someone and we make him know the Torah and then forget it is because the reason we take it is because of the spiritual impact of the Torah. It's not the idea of him knowing the halachas. The idea that what's inside the Torah. Inside the Torah is the Eibishter himself. You want to give that experience to the child. Why? Because without that hanacha of laying that into his neshama, he would never be able to have Ava V'yira and overcome his Yetzer Hara in the life. That God, we have to give him a head start. So we have to illuminate into the child the light of God. It says, for example, it says, the pasuk says that because we were at Har Sinai and we saw God then, it still has an impact on our psyche. Today, thousands of years later, we're still impacted, Yiras Hashem, from the experience of the Eibush that we had back then. So in a sense, every person also has to have God vividly projected into his neshama. And it's not enough, the neshama's experience of the Eibush up there in heaven. It needs an extra, in addition to Mashbi and Yisai and all of that, right before the neshama, while the neshama is already semi-connected to the body. It's not yet attached to the body completely because the child is not born yet. He's semi-connected. You give him a full dosage of Torah into his neshama. So you should have fear of God and love of the Eibishter. Why? Because what did we say earlier? Where does the fear come from and the love come from? Fear and the love are the tzitzis. They're the They're coming from a ray of what is inconceivable and unknowable, which is the lavush. You have a lavush, which is the Eibishter himself, that is unperceivable and therefore unrevealable. Then you have a little ray of that godliness that gives you your pneumistic godly experience, which is only the tzitzis that's coming from that. So therefore you have to teach him the entire Torah, so you give the neshama the lavush, with that which will provide a head start on the tzitzis that the child should be able to get. Kula shehu b'chinas hamakife, which these are the makife. And from this lavush of kol ha-Torah kula, Ya'ir loy oir Hashem v'koyach ava v'yira. From that he will still derive light of Hashem and the koyach of love and fear. V'achakach meshakchem imenu. Then they hit the delete and they make him forget everything. Now it should be your avodah to reclaim that knowledge and that lifchar b'toiv, to choose good, or else it would just k'maymer pischili. Now you open up for me. However, this ray of Torah that was shining a great and powerful illumination of Torah binish masai in his neshama, before the neshama has completely settled into the chumriyistic body, this is what gives koyach and strength. This is what it allows him as because if we would just learn Torah when we're in a body, it's possible that we would block its light completely. But because we had already an illumination before, when the neshama was not yet that, because here's the thing, we spoke about the power of the body earlier, how the body is so powerful because the Oseiv Kalam, everything is not. Precisely because of that, the body is also very, 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 very powerful in concealing godliness. That's why we have such a hard time to overcome our bodies. The body is like, you can learn so much and yet the body cannot. Why? Because the body is like really super powerful. So if the neshama would not have an experience of blast of godly existent, godly reality before it's fully vested in the body, then if you would start programming the neshama with godliness after it's in the body would block it. So that's why you have to have a head start when the neshama is semi going in but not yet fully in. So therefore, shemeir bo oira Torah, he anasenes koyach va'oiz. Shemeir bo oira Torah, that the light of Torah can shine. After the neshama becomes fully vested in the corporal body, that you should have now the koyach of the Torah to be able to convert mechashucha l'neura from the darkness of the body to light. Al yedei ha'ores oira ava v'yira. How are you going to turn it over? See, Torah, and that you're going to learn, has the godliness, but in a concealed way. You're learning physical halachas. And that's not impacting you in your consciousness. Through the ha'ora of light, love, and fear, ha'ma'ire meha Torah. The beauty of the tzitzis is that you're conscious of that godliness, as opposed to the rest of the Torah and the mitzvahs that remain a super powerful presence of the divine, but you're not conscious of it, because the Eibishter is not being mitzamtzim himself into a here, you can't experience it. Through a radiance of light, of love and fear, that are shining from the Torah. The initial imbuing of Torah, of the fire Torah, even though it's erased, there's a reshimu, there's still a trace of impact left. That should allow the person, even before he relearns the entire Torah, he should already still have from his memory drive, from what's put in there from before, it should still illuminate it in the light of love and fear, from the trace of what was there earlier. That's for it. That remains after you forgot. That gives you an ability to jumpstart, to be able to work. Obviously, during your life, we learned earlier, the Eibishter says to the neshama, get dressed. Meaning, it's not enough to rely on the Torah that you learned before you came in. Now you have to relearn it again, and now it's going to have once you relearn it, now then obviously the tzitzis from the Torah and the Torah that you're learning now is more powerful and on a higher level than the tzitzis from the Torah garment that you had when you were before. It's just at least giving you a head start to be able to get to that. And this is also Gavaldig, and the Pasuk says that Tzemach Tzedek relates to this. We learned, by the way, we give a little, all the parentheses are from the grandson, from the Tzemach Tzedek. What's not in the parentheses is from the grandfather, from the Alter Rebbe. And this is the meaning of Mashcheni Acharecha, draw me after you, Narutza. I'm sorry, Mashcheni, pull me, Acharecha Narutza, after you we will run. Havieni HaMelech Hadarav, the king has brought me into his chambers. You look in Shlomo HaMelech and Shir HaShirim, the sentence is so inconsistent. Mashcheni, pull me, Acharecha Narutza, I will run after you. Bring me into your chambers. He's not saying, Havieni, you brought me. Suddenly you're turning to past tense, to Lashon Avar. First you're saying, a bakasha, a request, draw me, I will run after you, and I hope that once I come to you, you'll let me into your chambers. The Mashcheni Lashon Lahaba is future tense. V'Havieni Lashon Avar is past tense. The Hevelei Lameimar, and he should have said, Tivieni, you should bring me. Ela Pirish is like this. Nah, Chadara, we went to Cheder already. What's Chadara? We were in Cheder already. Havieni Amela Chadara. The king had brought me already into his inner chamber by teaching me the entire Torah. He let me in already to his inner world. And he's going to explain that Cheder is, he's saying, bring a kid to Cheder. We're learning in Cheder. Cheder's not stam. Cheder is Chesed, the Chilo, which is fear. No, Chesed Din Rachamim, that's what it is. Cheder is Chesed Din Rachamim, which are the three spheres. When a child is going to Cheder, he's going to marinate in Chesed Gevura and Teferes of Elokos. That's what it's supposed to be. Hopefully the teacher doesn't ruin it. Let the Cheder be a Cheder. Ela Apirish, Ki Cheder Oshetevis Chesed Din Rachamim. That's Cheder. And that's why it says, now what do we know? We always know that what's the root of the Midos? What activates the Midos? You can't experience Chesed, Din, or Rachmim without Das. Das we know is called Maftecha de Koloshit. It's the key to all the Midos. Because in order to have any kind of a reaction, if an emotional reaction to something, whatever it is that you're getting excited about, you have to concentrate and feel it. It has to be very vivid. If the moment the person gets distracted, you'll see, even when a person gets excited about food, let's say, and it's good food, and they're focused, they're into it, and then suddenly they've been waiting all day long for this phone call, not all yet. It's like this person they were supposed to meet, and this is their future job, and this is their future everything, and they were trying to make this connection for years. Finally, they get the call. Suddenly, their mind isn't there because they have the call, and even if they're eating this food, that's like their best dinner. It's like this is really, really, really good tacos, like really good. It's got guacamole, and I'll tell you all my types, okay? You'll know. And it's like really good, because my wife made me really good tacos yesterday, by the way. So, and you're really eating these tacos, and you're having a geschmack in the tacos, but suddenly you got this phone call because your das now became disconnected, because you're not focused, you don't have the das connection. Suddenly you can be eating that same food, but you're not. It's not at all this because, or you got sometimes a very frustrating text. It's someone like whatever, and you suddenly got so like upset and so like, and suddenly that. Because the thing is, when your mind is not there, then the midos aren't there. Midos can only be with mind connection. So das is the secret for the midos. Ubedas, that's why it says ubedas chadorim yamalu. The cheder, the chesed, din and rachmim are filled with juice, filled with life. They need to have the das. Ki adasu amachaberu amamshach espashtes amoichen bahamidos. It keeps your moichen focused and connecting to the midos. Va'adas va'hamidos elu. This cheder mehem nimshach. Now, what's the cheder? You say. Havieni Amelach Hadarov, the king has brought me into his cheder. It means that the king has brought me into the Eibishter brought me into his inner chambers of Chesed and Rachmim, which is what halachas of Torah are. When you say something is mutter, that means it's dominated by Chesed energy. When you say something is asur, that means it's dominated. Hashem's din is there, not allowing this. Hashem is rejecting it. Rachmim is a blend, partial, a compromise, or whatever it is. It says right in the beginning of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe explains, B'Hillel, Beishamai, Chesed and Din, and the like. So that's me. So what does Chedara mean? Torah. Torah is the Eibishter's inner chambers. But that's why we're saying, Havieni HaMelech Hadar. The king had brought me because we already learned the Torah. We were already in the inside. V'gam, it also says, Chazal say, well, what a person that doesn't have any fear of Hashem and he learns Torah, Chazal say, well, a person that doesn't have fear of God and he learns Torah, he's compared to a person that has the inner keys, but he doesn't have the outer keys. So you have the keys to the inside of the house, but you don't have the key to the courtyard. You can't even get in there. So what do you see from here? That Torah is called the inner keys. V'gam ki ha-Torah mafteches ha'pnimis, it's the keys to the inside. V'zeu inyan chadarav, these is the cheder, is the inside. Hainu bati kavoyi, the inside rooms. V'zeu avi ani loshen avar, but that's why we say you brought me already. The hainu kishan neshama hoysalamaylo, when the neshama was above. Terem yuridase beguf. Interesting lashon over here. Earlier you say the neshama didn't enter the guf completely. It entered, but it didn't enter the guf completely. Here the lashon is terem yuridase beguf. It didn't enter at all the body. Shemalam de moise kala Torah kula. That's when the neshama is taught the entire Torah. Vehein hein chadarav, and that's the cheder. Lechein al yedeze. Gam acher kach. So what does that do? Kishen eslapsha beguf hachomri. When the neshama becomes mislabish, there's more copies here, by the way. When the neshama becomes mislabish in a coarse body, im kol zeh, what are we saying? Moshcheni, pull me with what? Pull me with the tzitzis. Throw me a little tzitzis because I've had already the beged. The beged I've had when I was a baby before I was born. I've got the garment. Torah was enveloped in the Eibishter's chadarim. Got it. Moshcheni, pull me now. Acharecha narutza, I'm going to run after you with excitement. Because, and you're going to say, what do you mean? Was hast du mit Eibishter? What kind of connection do you have that you should be able to respond to the Moshcheni? The answer is because Havieni HaMelech Hadarav, I was already there already. Al Yedei Shekvar Havieni, I've already been brought. V'nisha Rishimu, there's already a trace from what was. Now we go back to the Maayon. The Pnim of the Maayon. Peshatati es ketanti. Knesset Yisroel says to the Eibishter, I have already removed my shirt. How can I dress it? Piddish. I didn't see what they were saying. I forgot that this is the what that's exactly the whole point. Forgot. In other words, the Yid is saying, I already removed. I forgot the Torah that I learned when I was a baby. Peshatati es ketanti. I lost it already. I'm sitting already in this world as 30, 20, 15, whatever years, 30 years, 40, 50, 70 years. I'm sitting marinating in Gashmias. And I'm schon lang vergessen. I forgot already. Peshatati es ketanti. Who would have ever thought? Peshatati es ketanti, I removed my shirt, means I forgot the Torah that I learned. Al Yedei HaMalach, the Malach made me forget it all. Shesotrei al piv, and the Malach smacked him on the mouth. Im ken kosher lai adavar. It's difficult for me. Lahalbish alai oid b'chinas haTorah v'amitzvah. It's difficult for me to put back on the Torah and mitzvahs, shehem b'chinas levushim, which they are the garments, which only when I have that can I have the tzitzis, which is a ray from the levush of mitzvahs. But based on this whole idea, we'll understand why tzitzis reminds you of all the mitzvahs. You ask the question. You're going to look at your tzitzis, you're going to remember as chartem is called mitzvahs Hashem. How, when you look at tzitzis, do you remember all the mitzvahs? The answer is, what's tzitzis? Tzitzis is a little revelation, a little conscious burst of godly light into your consciousness from the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are the garment. So of course, when you look at the tzitzis and you see how intense and powerful they are, you realize, wow, this is only a little ray of all the mitzvahs. There's a chartem, the power of all the mitzvahs, and you're going to be excited about doing that. You're going to see them as a chartem. You remember as kol mitzvah savaya, and that's why it's called mitzvahs Hashem, the mitzvahs of God. It's gavaldik, because the tzitzis is already your godliness. The tzitzis is your experience. The tzitzis is, we said earlier, it goes into your heart. It excites your love on your white and your techeles and your blue, your av and your yira. But the mitzvahs are still called mitzvahs Hashem. And the mitzvahs of God because it's still beyond our grasp. It's godliness that's higher than us. Similar to the idea what Chazal say, that initially when a Yid learns Torah, it's called Torah Hashem. But after you learn Torah and you really assimilate it, you know it well, it becomes it becomes a person's Torah. Similar to that, mitzvahs Hashem, mitzvahs bichlal, is not like Torah, because mitzvahs you don't digest. Mitzvahs is bigger than you. It's called mitzvahs apirish. Ma shetiru b'chinas tzitzis, when you will see the tzitzis, shu b'chinas ha'ores ava v'yira, which is a ray of love and fear. Shehem b'chinas tchelis v'lov and shebetzitzis, which is the blue and the white of the tzitzis. V'hein Torah sa'adam, and they are the Torah of your godliness. Hayotzim, that go out benimin, through these threads, the syros, and through these heads, through these hair. Mepchinas makif v'levush. These are the strands that are coming out, the fringes that are coming out from the makif and the levush. Shu b'chinas mitzvahs ma'asiyas, which are the physical mitzvahs. Shehem anikram mitzvahs Hashem. They're called mitzvahs Hashem. Lefi she'ein nasan atzmiyas ha'adam. They don't become you. They don't become the person. Kamoy ava v'yira, like love and fear, which becomes the person. Because this is godliness measured to your size. But the mitzvah ma'asiyas is God's light as it is, and therefore it remains mitzvah Hashem. And there's another reason why they're called mitzvah Hashem. Because the Eibishter also does these mitzvahs. Because the Eibishter asks us to do the mitzvahs that he does. V'gam heim mitzvah Hashem mamish. And it's not that you do a mitzvah and he does a similar mitzvah. No, the mitzvah that you're doing is the very same mitzvah the Eibishter does. Shakadosh Baruch Hu maniach tefillin. Excuse me. The Eibishter puts on tefillin, umatzli, and the Eibishter davens. And this is the idea. Asher kedishanu, you sanctified us b'mitzvoisav. He sanctified us with his mitzvahs. Ki ha-mitzvahs shaloi mamish. They are literally his mitzvahs. Ma she'en kein, love and fear. Funny, the Maayon keeps on concentrating more on the fear than on the love, on the tchelis. You see it a few times in the Maayon. Ma she'en kein yira l'shayach gaba kodesh baruch. You can't say by Hashem. The Eibush doesn't say the Eibush fears anything. Love, you can say. I know that. But in love, you do find this. The Eibush loves a yid, but fear is not shaykh by the Eibush. L'kach ksiv zois Torah sa'adam. This is the Torah of the person. This is the zois is fear. We learned earlier. That's Torah of Adam. That's not Torah. I am ashakasa seif the Ramaschal Tzena Reno bepidish mimidbar matana b'chenas midbar u'kamo shakasa v'lei yoshev Adam sham. Midbar is a level of a lakus. It says that is not yet, simply it means that no one lives in the midbar, but the deeper meaning is it's a level of the divine that has not yet lowers itself down to the spheroids, which is called Adam. Shulamaylam abchenas Adam, higher than the level of Adam, which is basically the Soiv of Kalaman. Misham Shoirish HaTorah. From that's where the Shoirish of Torah comes from. The Torah really comes from a level of Loi Adam, from Midbar. Misham Nimshachas V'nislapsha b'bchenas Adam. And from there it became the slabish in the level of Adam. V'zeh inyan v'zois Torah Adam. And that's what he says over there. That's the idea of Zois Toiras. But according to what he writes over here, Mashma, the Pirish V'zois Toiras Adam Hainu Masha Nimshechu Mislabish Bechabad the Malchus Tatzilus is a lower level. Is that which comes down into Malchus of Atzilus, which means that which can concentrate itself in a much lower level. Okay. But now we'll understand, back to the Maayon, we'll understand the two Zechiros. It says, as a result of mitzvahs, you're going to see them. It says two things. Uzechartem, it's called mitzvahs Hashem, vasisa moisam, v'lo yisasuru achrei levavchem v'yachrei anechem. And then it says, Laman tizkaru, you should remember again. What's the two remembrances? The inyan ha-schirois, and the idea of the schirois, hem beis, two bechinos. Keneget cheles. Since the tzitzis has two impacts on the person, love and fear, the blue and the white. So there's two types of zechiras. It helps you remember the lois aseh and helps you remember the aseh. The positive commandments, the mitzvahs of action, and the prohibitive commandments. And you'll see in the words that how each one applies to a different set of mitzvahs. Beis bechinas keneged cheles, against the blue, which is the fear, or keneged lavan, which is the white. Keneged cheles, I'm sorry. Beis bechinas keneged cheles, keneged lavan. Keneged cheles yiskar on mitzvahs lois aseh. Corresponding to the tchelas of the tzitzis, which is the fear, that's going to bring a person to remember the prohibitive commands. Because as we say in Tanya, that fear, shahayiruhu makar l'shmiras mitzvahs loisaseh. The real shmira of loisaseh comes from fearing Hashem. And that's what Taket says. What's the continuation of the first zechira? Uzachartem es kol mitzvahs Hashem vasisa moisam What kind of asiyah? Do not allow your heart to get verschlepped after taivas and the like. And you should realize, here's the thing. Asher atem zoynim means in the current. A person should always be aware that right now I am zoynim achreyim. I'm being driven after all the taivas. Why? The loy timer, you shouldn't say rachatzti es raglei kfar. I've gotten rid of him. I reached already. I've attained the spiritual level already. I've cleaned myself from my averis. I am no more a zoyna. Alter Rebbe actually, in another mimer, the Alter Rebbe says, Asher atem zoynim achreyim comes from the word you become chas v'shalom a prostitute through them. Why? What's the inyan of a zoyna? A inyan of a zoyna is that she's not receiving from her husband, she's receiving from someone else. Our husband is the Eibishter. When a Yid Chas v'Shalom opens himself up to some other klippa to give him Chas v'Shalom some kind of a sensation and an experience that's not the Eibishter, then a Chas v'Shalom, it's like the person going after a different mashpia and not the Eibishter. Ashatem zoyna machreyam, that through going after your heart, after klippas, you become a zoyna. And what Chas v'Shalom is the Allah is the Eibishter is a kohen. A kohen can't marry a zoyna. So there's chas v'shalom, that idea. That's why it's a frightening word. The Alter Rebbe says over there that a person has to be careful. So, but then of course, tshuva. Let's come for that. But in any case, and that's the idea of a loy timer. And also what Chazal say, even though everybody tells you you're a tzaddik already, still see yourself as a zoyna, as someone going astray. That's from the loisase. U'keneg, get love on, and basically it's related more to the sur merah, departing from bad, okay, which is the idea that's like in the experience that we said earlier of our experience of hachana. It's the idea that's why he's emphasizing the idea of rachatz de'as raglai. It has to do with the sur merah, which has to do with the tshuva that we talked earlier, that creates a broken heart, that creates the cracks that the Eibishter should be able to shine into you. U'keneged lavan, and corresponding to the lavan of the tzitzis, the white of the tzitzis. Yisker al mitzvahs aseh, that's laman tizkeru, you'll remember them. Vasisam oisam, you will do them. That's the mitzvahs aseh. Vasisam as kol mitzvahs, you're going to do all my mitzvahs. And as a result of that, v'yisam kedoshim la'leheichem, you'll be holy to God. What does that mean? Yisker al mitzvahs aseh, vasisam as kol mitzvahs, you will do all my mitzvahs. V'yisam kedoshim, hear this. Poo, poo, poo. V'yisam kedoshim means you will become holy. What does that mean? Piddish. Shegam b'chinas av v'hayira shebechem. You, what are you? The true you of a person is not as a body. The true you of a person is, as we said earlier, your panemius. What's your panemius? Hopefully, the love and the fear of God that you've created. That's your neshama. That's your you. That's the panemius. V'asisam, as a result of that, v'yisam kedoshim. It's going to take your love and the fear, and it's going to elevate them from being just human love and fear to becoming godly love and fear. It's going to be absorbed in the side of Kol Alman. It's going to upgrade the love and the fear. The mitzvahs are not going to remain up a little fringe, extending from the talis, but the love and the fear are going to be suddenly included in the talis. They're like going to be reabsorbed in the talis. In other words, the person's experiences of the Ava V'yira are going to be elevated with the supernal holiness. Kitzer, Inyan, what's the idea? The kavanah, the intention of the pasuk, is to warn a person. Meaning, not warn, but let's use the word, the Chassidic word lahazer, to illuminate, to shine light on a person. That it should be always, a person should always have to remember really Einov Goydel Milas Kedushas Mitzvahs Maisias. A person, Bechlal Parsha Shlach, everything in Parsha Shlach comes to express the Mila of Mitzvahs Maisias. Because the whole chait of the Meraglim was what? The Meraglim didn't want to go down into the physical. They wanted to remain in the world of spirituality. So you'll see every mitzvah in Parsha Shlach that follows is all mitzvahs. For instance, the mitzvah of Nesachim. So Nesachim is corresponding to the fire from a korban that's burning spirituality. You pour libations, which is the idea of going down, shuv, going back down into the world to impact the world. That's that. Mitzvah Chala is also related to that. I don't remember how exactly right now. And then mitzvah Tzitzis. It's all grounding us back into Gashmias. This creates a makif digel lavush to his neshama. And the root of it is from a higher levush. All of them are oita or kasalma. The Eibishter dresses himself in light like a garment. The levushe, and the Eibishter's garment, ketelek chiver, is like white snow. The Eibishter wraps himself in a talis. This is the makar and the root of all mitzvahs. Which from the Eibishter's talis becomes a levush to the person's hanikra chalukah de rabbanon. That becomes the true chalukah de rabbanon, their garment of the rabbanon, which means and that levush, it becomes the source for all internal experiences. How will a person appreciate the greatness and the quality of this levush, and its holiness? A person will remember beriyas hatzitzis, when he will look at the tzitzis. Shehem rak dalid nimen. They're just 4 little strings. Why 4? Even though we have 8, because it's folded over, as we spoke earlier. It's coming from this levush. Maybe the 4 nimen are the 4 letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. I'm not exactly sure, but dalid nimen elu. And from these 4 strings, shem beis chutei tcheles, which are 2 chutim of tcheles. Ubeis chutei. What does he mean by that? 2 chutim of tcheles, isn't it 1 chut of tcheles and 3 chutim of lavan? Not exactly sure. Ubeis chutei lavan nimsheches ha'aretz dechilu erechimu l'chabad shel Knesset Yisroel, to the chachma bin adas of Knesset Yisroel. Shem kol haneshama shebi Yisroel. This draws down the little to all the neshamas. V'hu nikra Teiras ha'adam. The pnimis is called Teiras ha'adam, the Torah of man. This is a bridge between the godliness of God to the holiness of man, to keep that flow. The imkain ima'od is daled nimim levad. If I'm array of these 4 nimin, nimshaha ada gedoyle kizu, comes such a ada tchile rechimu. This is giving the love and the fear. Shakol nishmas Yisrael shema olam. Yeah, all the love and fear of all neshamas from all generations are only coming from that small little strings. That's empowering all the love of the fear of all the neshamas from the strings of the tzitzis. So I said earlier, you have to hold the tzitzis by the heart. That's where your entire Ava V'Yira comes from. Imkein ma otzma v'gadla ma'oid milas kedushas halavush kula. Imagine how holy is great the kedusha of the lavush itself. B'chvoido ba'atzma. Hanasa mekim mitzvahs ma'asis, the fulfillment of physical mitzvahs. You're making the lavush itself, which is the source from where these 4 strings come from. V'chein talmud Torah bepiv. Now the Alter Rebbe wants that a person should feel that learning Torah, which someone might associate more with the strands, because it's more what you understand, also is mitzvahs ma'asiyos, because you don't fulfill Talmud Torah unless you're speaking it with your mouth. Akim asvasav have a ma'isa. Moving your jaws and your lips is a ma'isa, is an action. So Talmud Torah also has the mitzvah, the quality of mitzvahs, that it is a makif, it has a physical dimension to it. V'gama inyan ba'alach is kulam, and also the concept, in addition to the fact that when you're learning, you see, if Torah taka would be mitzad the inyan of limudat Torah and knowing Torah, you can learn Torah like you're in a library, just reading with your eyes. But mitzad, the inyan of mitzvah of learning at Torah, you learn Torah with your body, with all your limbs, especially with the moving of the lips. But there's another inyan of physicality to Torah, and that is the physicality of the halachas, the content. The gama inyan ba'alachis kulam and b'dvarim gashmim. Shelechein hem gufei Torah. They're called, Chazal say that the halachas gashmim are called the body of Torah. But not to make them away, because the body is the most important thing, because we learned earlier that in the body is what's the highest. Gufei dafka. Kamoy shekasav Arizal. And like the Arizal says, shekdushas hatalis gedoyla ma'losa b'ma'oid, more than the tzitzis. The talis is holier than the tzitzis. Al kedushas tzitzis, on the holiness of the tzitzis. Shehem rak nimen, because they're only strands, hanem shachen mahatalis, they're coming from the talis. Rak shemifnei goydol mailas kedushasa, because of the greatness of the quality of its holiness. Oh, but if that's the case, then halachically we know that if tzitzis fall off a talis, you're supposed to put it in a gniza. You're not supposed to throw them away. But when a talis gets this, you're allowed to throw. A talis doesn't have kedusha, but tzitzis still. So l'chora, how does it fit with what we're learning? The answer is because the talis is is connecting to such a high level, it can't enclose itself in the physical element of it. Even though the source of its holiness is the physical, it's a strange union. It's dafka physical mitzvah, but still, because of its holiness, it's so great, it can't be conveyed, it can't be grabbed or be nitfas in the gashmis, the getalas. In other words, it's symbolizing this holiness. Tzitzis, where the actual holiness goes into it, because that's the whole idea of tzitzis. It's compressed to enter into something. It's being mislabish. L'chein ein betalas hagashmi shum kedusha klal. Physical talis doesn't have holiness. U'muter le'ishtamish ba divrei chol. You're allowed to wrap something up in a talis. You're not supposed to do a bizoyin in it, but you're allowed to use it for divrei chol. Ma'asha enki b'tzitzis ksherim, tzitzis which are kosher, you're not supposed to do a davar chol with it. What kind of davar? If you want to tie something a little for tzitzis, you're not supposed to do a davar chol with tzitzis. And but that's how you understand the whole mitzvah of tzitzis. The appreciation of gashmias, the mitzvahs, comes dafka from what comes out of here. Here's the thing like this: every mimer you learn has to take the world and upside down. If you learned the mimer and it didn't turn your whole world upside down, you didn't understand the mimer. In other words, why? Because the mimer is godly perspective, and our perspective from below is opposite. Till you don't learn the mimer, you don't have godly perspective. You see, the way all Jews without Chassidus, Jewish philosophy, the Jewish approach to all kiyum mitzvahs is as follows: the physical mitzvah helps you get to the experience. How do you see that? Look in chinuch, look in minchas chinuch. Look how it. Achara pa'ulis nimshachas alavalis. That's what every kind of rav that's giving a shmooze in his shul about the mitzvahs will give this inyan. The main inyan of it is to experience. You have to do the physical mitzvah, so the physical mitzvah allows you to become, in order to get to the in other words, the main thing is the psychological experience, which comes as a result of the mitzvah. So a moira de kasha on that. What's the moira de kasha? If the whole physical mitzvah is just a means to get to the psychological impact, why is it that if a person totally was numb in his mind and his heart during the asiyas mitzvah of all spiritual meaning of it, and he did meticulously, he did the mitzvah, he's a yaitz of the mitzvah. But if he did fakert, he did all the spiritual experiences of it, but he didn't eat that physical crunchy piece of matzah, he's not yaitz. Doesn't make any sense. If the physical is going to bring you to that, till you learn Chassidus, and the Alter Rebbe turns it all over. And he says, no. The entire spiritual, all your spirituality, you're supposed to use your spiritual experiences to get an awe and an understanding. Oh, wow, can you imagine what the physical mitzvahs themselves are? Because that's God himself. Thus is the Eibishter. So the spiritual is adarabah, an inspiration to get you to appreciate where that all your spiritual experiences are coming from. It's coming from the transcendental, and the transcendental is dafka in the action, in the physical mitzvah. So that's a complete opposite hashkafa that comes from, we would say, from human understanding. All right, zeh, everyone. Wear your tzitzis, connect to your tzitzis. Zeh.